Dirty Dozen, Seven Samurai, and Star Wars in Space.
Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Fade in.
We're gonna get a little bit crazy, wild and maybe even vulgar if you please. It's after dark and we're gonna light it up. We got some fun in store for you, no tease. It's time for Midnight Sesh After Dark. A little naughty, will hopefully make you chuckle, but we ain't trying to hurt nobody. So get ready quick on the double, cause it's time for Midnight Sesh After Dark.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time once again for Midnight Sedge After Dark.
After Dark.
On this episode, Eddie Murphy is Gumby. Joe Pescopo will be playing Frank Sinatra. And special musical guest Liberace. All right. Welcome once again, everybody. How's my Doug Pardo? That's pretty good.
Don Pardo.
Yeah, it was good.
Don Pardo, not Doug. Did I say Doug? I meant Don.
Don Pardo. Yeah.
Yeah, this is Don Pardo.
May he rest in peace.
Yes, indeed.
Saturday
It's
Night
Saturday
Live.
night. We will miss him. Speaking of people who will be missed, we lost Marquis of the 2 Live crew today. I know some of my old school rap fans will know who that is.
Classic.
It's not Uncle Luke that died, right?
No, not Luke. Not Luke Skywalker, the man, not the myth. It was Marquis.
Oh, I've worked with Uncle Luke before.
That's cool.
Never mind.
What were you saying, Clavi?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. No, there's also a big loss for fans of classic Doctor Who, real Doctor Who. Of course.
Yes, that's right. I also heard about that too.
William
what
Russell.
was his?
William
Russell.
90s, he played the Doctor's really very first male companion, and he was in the first episode of The Unearthly Child. He played Ian Chesterton, who was there with Barbara and Susan with the first
He was
Doctor.
very important, actually.
Big time, important, one of the most important Doctor Who companions. He was even, he did a lot with fandom as well. So he was very beloved companion.
He was like 99 or something, right?
Yeah, he was way up there.
Wow.
In that first, William Hartnell episodes, we used to sometimes jokingly call it Ian Who, because William Hartnell was kind of sick. A lot of the times he was not able to do a lot of the action and stuff. And you had a younger man there, Ian, and he always did a lot of, he was kind of taking care of all the action stuff. Whereas the old grandfatherly type doctor, the first Doctor, didn't do that much. It was always Ian, taking care of all that stuff. The school teacher from Coal Hill School that they first met in the first episode. So a very beloved Doctor Who companion of so really a great feller. So, all right.
Well, someone we didn't lose was Clobby. We have him here. Thank you for being here, Clobby. We appreciate you being able to be here.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you, buddy. All right. And it's great to see my good buddies on the panel and our wonderful friends in the chat. So let's have some geek fun tonight.
Absolutely. And yeah, War Monkey, as I was just saying here in the back room, My whole summer of 1989, that's all I could think of was the Two Live Crew. Like that. I mean, just hearing those songs reminds me of that summer. I mean, it was like one of the first viral experiences because my cousin would literally be handing out the tapes that he got from a guy who had the LP or the dual LPs. It was for Nasty as They Want to Be. And yeah, it was like, what the hell is this? This was something like we never heard before. Both in the music styling of the rap and the fact that they could say the shit they were saying. Right. We're just like, I mean, our jaws hit the ground. And I know now the Two Live Crew would be considered quaint compared to like wet ass pussy and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, but back then when they came out with a song called Me So Horny, every fucking white mom in the fucking country lost their goddamn minds. Like,
it was a simpler time.
It was a very, very simple time. Yeah, it was crazy. And yeah, Marquis will be missed. Actually, we lost one of the other members a couple years back. What's his face? Now I just forgot it. Shit. A cool, Fresh Kid Ice. That's what I was gonna say. Cool, Fresh Kid Cool Ice, but it's Fresh Kid Ice. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, they will be missed. And Doctor Who fans, I mean, yeah, that's a 99 you guys said he was? Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And
well,
again,
at least he made it to damn near the end of the road there. I mean, if you make it to anywhere above like 90, I'd say that's a win.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's probably, the oldest of them all. So
you've outlived most of your enemies at that point. And you can go, fuck all you. You know, like
the best revenge.
At that point, you're ready to just go. You're just like, I'm done. I've done everything I can. You know, pretty much. Most people, I would think, anyway. But we also have the CC Karaoke coming in from Canada via satellite.
By the way, he also outlived Doctor Who, since it's been dead for like years now.
Oh, that was funny. That deserves that.
Sorry.
Well, no, you're coming in.
Not sorry.
Canada, don't be sorry. We got to be here. How you doing, brother?
I mean, like William Shatner, I wouldn't mind trying to cheat time and live forever. But I'm not sure we've gotten to that level of technology yet, or at least not something I can afford. There are ways. He's pursuing it, but it's very expensive.
The truth is out there.
It's very
the secret is not food. It's not exercise. Well, sort of.
Well, it's all the ladies for a start.
Exactly. It's to stay young.
Well, Shatner's not going anywhere.
And lots of sex while listening to the Two Live Crew.
Shatner's not going anywhere. He'll outlive everybody. He's already outlived.
So horny. Me so horny. Sitting at home with my dick hard. I got a black book for a freak to call. Pick up the phone, dial the 7 digits, said, yo, it's Marquis, baby. Are you done with it? For Marquis, you will. Priceline.com.
We need some kind of like AI overlay of his voice singing Two Live Crew lyrics when he's with the Orion.
I think I just did.
Yeah, basically. Overlay that when he's like seducing the green chick from Star Trek.
Pop that pussy. Pop that pussy.
Wow.
If you believe in having sex, say hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
If you believe having sex, say hell yeah. I think you could do that. Whole Two Live Crew. She ain't nothing but a hoochie mama. Hood rat, hoochie mama.
She's talking about Nurse Chapman.
Shake it, don't break it. It took your mama 9 months to make it. The lyrics just go on and on, man. Dirty Nursery Rhymes is probably their best one ever. Anyway, let's keep moving. We got Scribe Light tonight, a rare appearance. How you doing, my friend?
Oh, well, tonight I'm Scribe Acolyte. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Oh, the activist.
Yeah, the activist.
All of your activist posters. Yeah, I think
pushing
I gave you credit for them the other day.
Yeah, pushing my activist posters.
Yeah, that's probably the best take yet on that, I'd say. I'll show one here just so people know what we're talking about. Here's your latest one. Your first one was pretty good too. Did you do any more besides these two?
These are only two so far. Yeah, it's all a matter of finding the right font to match the advertising, and then make sure that my meager photoshopping skills match up with everything else.
Much better than mine. Priceline.com. Anyway, thank you for being here, Scribbles, and we also have with us Price of Reason. How you doing?
Good. How's it going?
It's going, and you're not helping your case of being black or not. Just so you know, you leaned into the black. Your melanin, that stuff is going up by the minute. Just so you know.
I understand. No, I know what you think, but it's just a matter. It's work. It's work related.
No, it's all good, man. But I'm kind of starstruck because, yeah, like I said, 2 Live Crew was one of those things growing up, man. Speaking of growing up, the man who will never grow up, Nick Weiser.
Hey, how's it going, Tom? So apparently,
gonna punish us tonight.
Trailer. Yeah, one last time, but this time it's gonna be a huge war zone.
Ooh,
huge,
baby.
Like the best. I've seen some violence before, and this violence, it's the really, really greatest violence ever. Like, I'm just saying, you like violence, I like violence. Well, this violence has been the most violent thing that any Punisher could get ever.
Punisher Warzone, aka Punisher Chicago. Yes. So check that out tonight on Toxic Tuesday. And also joining us, last but definitely not least, another Canadian via satellite. Maybe it's the satellite of love. Script Doctor.
Hey, happy to be here. We're like almost 15 minutes into the show. Let's get to the topics.
Let's do this.
Rolling on me. Let's go.
well, we did talk about the 2 losses we had, so we did kind of get through that already.
Right.
But yeah, there was an Alien trailer, and since it's Disney, I suppose we could watch this. No, I think this is what the second trailer we've actually had for this now. This is like because the first one was like a teaser.
Another promotional, yeah.
Yeah. Romulus. Sounds like something you'd eat.
I mean, the first one didn't sell me, so.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, Romulus sounds like a really good like noodle dish.
No, Romulus is actually what Rome was before it was called Rome.
Yeah,
well, you're probably right.
Also, it's another Prometheus type story. Oh, goody.
Oh, that's not an alien.
Yeah.
Movie.
No, actually, this kind of looks like an alien movie, but
looks
the first trailer. Sorry, what'd you say?
Looks can be deceiving. It's very easy nowadays to make a movie look good, but to be good takes a whole nother skill set.
Yeah, not only that, the first teaser trailer kind of felt like a fan film. So let's see how this one fares. Noise effects.
Is this really where you want to spend the rest of your life?
You know I don't.
Is this trying to be Blade Runner or Alien?
Yeah.
And this is our only ticket out of here.
Was that like Henry Caviezel's kid or something?
Jesus Jr.
It's like baby Jesus.
Caviezel had a kid.
It kind of does, yeah.
It does, yeah. It looks like Thin Red Line Caviezel.
So they have Romulans and Alien now?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
They go to Romulus?
Yeah. From the director of the new Evil Dead and Don't Breathe, okay.
Don't Breathe is good.
Which I didn't like the new Evil Dead film.
Nah.
Oh, look at that. We're just a blonde or silver blonde chick away from our woke starter pack here. Okay. We've never seen that before.
What's happening?
Okay.
Something in the water.
Seeing some more of the money being
There's
spent.
just something in the fucking water.
Spoiler alert.
Fucking thing's hunting us.
Open the door, come on.
Run.
See, this feels like a throwback to like your boilerplate chase me, catch me alien film, which I said this on Twitter earlier. Yeah, I said earlier on Twitter, I said, I suppose modern audiences, quote unquote, haven't seen something like this since, say, Alien 3. Because I think all the Alien movies after that were like Alien, Predator, or some kind of...
Covenant basically was Ridley Scott doing a remake of Alien.
Yeah, but there was all that extra... I don't know, philosophy and other things going on.
Like that's how it
No, Covenant was bad. Prometheus was bad enough.
Yeah.
Covenant was like solidified and it made Prometheus worse.
This feels like at least by the trailer, it feels like a throwback, which might or might not be to its benefit.
And I think my understanding is this takes place between Alien and Aliens. So again, we're stuck in this.
Oh, it does?
Land.
Oh,
yeah.
No. Oh, I thought it was an extension.
Yeah.
When they can't think of anything new and they just shove it between timelines.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Rogue One for Alien.
We got our Ripley wannabe who's dressed like she is in Aliens. They literally steal the "in space no one can hear you scream" line, which...
Wow.
No, just no one can hear you. There's no scream. Just no one can hear you.
Yeah, and this is annoying on the ears.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Yeah.
My ear tinnitus was kicking in.
My autism is going to go off the charts with that shit.
Alice doesn't live here anymore. Oh,
I mean...
Sure you want to do this?
No, not really.
Alien 3 right there.
Yeah, a lot of cribbed shots of existing aliens.
Yeah, that's what I would call it.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, are you saying that aliens are going to be on the spaceship and they're going to be chasing people and eating people and busting out of people and into people, and there's going to be a lot of running and stuff?
Jeez,
right?
Clobby, spoiler alert.
Oh, I don't really know, but like honestly, in all seriousness, I don't really see anything there that makes me go, okay, this looks like something unique.
I mean,
this still looks like a very well-made fan film.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that they are taking it back to a contained space. It's on a spaceship. It looks, it looks well enough, but it's kind of like it's a poor man's Alien. It's like it's like, okay, it's not going to be
like the fifth
as good as the
film
original. It might be serviceable good to a degree. I mean, if we could hope, but it's never gonna. It's just like a cheap knockoff, right?
1979. That was a revolutionary film. Then the only way to even do something interesting is to be very different from it, and the camera managed it with Aliens. After that, where are you going to go? Just beat this?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Ever since then, they just kept trying to remake Alien and Aliens, basically.
Well, but basically, what else is there to do with this concept?
Yeah, if there's something special to this entry, they didn't show it in the trailer. I guess that's the thing. Is like if there's some kind of twist to this or some kind of angle that would differentiate it from everything that's come before. I didn't see it in either of these trailers, so who knows?
Look, I'm in the arena that there's only really two good Alien films. Yeah. Alien 3 works well on its own, but it destroys the ending of Aliens. Like, that's the problem. But like, here's the thing. When you say, what is there left to do? There's tons left to do, actually, or a few things left to do that we haven't seen yet. And now technology has caught up with us to where they can actually show those things. Like they were going to do a spin-off Alien cartoon back in the day that got killed. But the toys got released. And the cool gimmick about those toys, and I feel like they haven't even thought about going back to, is anything that the face hugger combines with or implants its seed in or whatever, the alien will come out with attributes of that creature. Right. So we've mainly seen human aliens. But what we haven't only seen one time, we saw the bull alien.
There are some great storylines,
depending on what you want to call it in Alien 3. But like there's all kinds of creatures I think that we could see that were hybrid with aliens that they were going to do in that series. And the alien commandos and all that stuff. Go into the fucking future. Quit going into the past. Because every time they add something to this, it feels like, okay, so another time that Utani or somebody else knew about the aliens and yet nobody else did. But anyway, sorry, go ahead, Scribe. You're about
I was going to say my experience with Aliens as a franchise really came about with the Dark Horse comics back in the 90s. There are some amazing storylines. Like the first one I ever saw, it's a series called Alien Rogue from Dark Horse back in the day. And it's so expanded my idea of what you could do with the alien universe. And like you said, yeah, the aliens going into different creatures. The toy line, I still have some of the action figures like the gorilla alien and like the mantis alien and all these other things. And they changed the whole landscape. Like there was this planet that was a jungle planet and you had these aliens swinging from the trees and stuff. There's so many ways they could go. And yet, I mean, if this is meant to be some sort of like reintroduction to people of like classic alien sort of setup, and they're going to try to spin it off on other things, maybe, I mean, if they're going to do some kind of like Prey kind of deal where they sort of offshoot into different areas. But I mean, there are plenty of interesting storylines. But the thing about the Alien franchise in the comic books is that the driving force of those storylines were the characters, not the aliens. Just like so many other things like zombie movies and such.
Right.
The monsters are just the vehicle, the delivery mechanism for interesting character stories. And if they're not doing that here, if it's just going to be a chase me, catch me monster verse thing again, it might be satisfying to some, you know, alien diehards, but otherwise, it like you say, it doesn't have anywhere else to go.
Yeah, the trailer doesn't explain anything about who the characters are or why we should care about them.
No.
One thing I liked about Alien 3, as opposed to just characters, was the fact that they took all the weapons out of the scenario, right? I mean, I loved Aliens, that everyone's got big guns and there's a ton of aliens and everyone's shooting them all up, right? But in Alien 3, one thing I really liked about that movie is that nobody had weapons, right?
Alien 3 kind of annoyed me.
They had to work with what they had around them and get creative. If you take a situation where the characters are really at a disadvantage, you can't just pull some, you know, break glass and pull out big gun to blow up the alien, right? And you have interesting characters and there's a dynamic there. Maybe there's something else that's pressuring them. Like what the trailer's not telling me anything about. I mean, okay, they may all die from the alien, but what happens if they fail to defeat the alien or something like that? It's not giving me anything about the story, and I don't want it to spoil the movie, but I'm just seeing chase scenes here and callbacks, you know.
Yeah.
Alien 3 is probably better than anything that came after it, but at the time it was a very disappointing movie.
Oh, it was very divisive at the time. Like I said, in isolation, and I don't mean that to be punny, Alien 3 works really well as like a very intense horror sci-fi-ish thriller. But like I said, the problem with it is it shits all over the end of Aliens.
Right.
And the only thing that kind of brings you into the story is Ripley. But not only that, you guys are right. Like, it's all the characters surrounding Ripley in that film that are actually interesting. The idea, the concept. And then I said, like, again, you brought in this new idea that makes the alien even more of an adversary, because depending on which version you watch, it's either the dog or the bull alien, which makes it even more agile than it was hybrid, you know, as a human hybrid, right? Like, so that makes it even more of a problem. And it looks cool. It's one of the cooler looking aliens we got, I thought, anyway. So I like that idea. And to me, like, they went the opposite direction with the fourth alien when they decided to, you know, recreate Ripley. And then they have that really stupid looking alien baby thing, human hybrid fucking thing. Like, I'm like, what are you guys doing here? We should be like you guys just said, that we should have like alien commandos in a fucking desert, or I mean a jungle planet where a bunch of aliens had gotten dumped off somehow, and now they've, you know, we've got jaguar aliens, we got gorilla aliens, we got all sorts of alien hybrids that, you know, are all sorts of new kinds of trouble. You know, I mean, like, why are we not doing that? And not only at this point, you've crossed it over with Predator so much. There's a good way you can bring Predator back into the scenario too. You know, like, I don't know, but there's so much you can do. It feels like they're just kind of trying to recreate the 79 alien and aliens all over again and again and again and again. And now this is like the third or fourth film that's just like this. It's like you guys said, you just forgot about Covenant. It's basically the same thing. You know, it's these people who go to this planet and the aliens on the planet, and then the alien gets on the ship. You know, it's like, that's it. It's the same goddamn thing all over again.
No, story-wise seem like the same thing, but the way the movie looks, it looks like a lot of other current year. Even I'm not even talking about the ideology, but just like the way like sci-fi action or horror action, whatever you want to call it, looks. All these movies all look the same, and this just falls under the same umbrella as the Blade Runner 2049s and such. It's just like, oh, great, another movie that looks like all the others. Great.
Well, now that you mentioned that it was a midquel, you said it was between Alien and Aliens.
I believe that's the case because also,
yeah.
There's also as Connor Darian says here, don't forget about the Alien TV series coming on FX. Noah Hawley's series. Now, I believe that's going to follow Ripley's daughter, so that's another midquel, is my understanding.
See, the only thing that I can think is that
unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, if Romulus takes place between the two movies, the only thing I can think of that would add some spice to it is if they decide to, quote unquote, answer some questions of things between the two movies, like, gosh, where did Bishop come from? Or, how did Hudson's dad sire him, or some nutty thing like that? Because it's 40 years between Alien and Aliens, right? Because Ripley was in stasis for 40 years.
See, and this is where I kind of get in.
Because her
daughter, it was 57 years.
57?
Right, okay, 57. Okay.
And here's the thing, and this is what bothers me about this, and this is what I've said time and time again about these midquels, is that we are set up with this idea that when they go in the first Alien, that Watani somewhat has an idea or whatever, something's there, and that's why it woke him up and sent him there in the first place. And Ash is supposed to make sure that one of those makes its way back to Earth so they can have it for research.
Yeah, research.
And then by the sequel, they know about it, but I've gotten into knockdown, drag out fights with people over why the fuck would a company build that there, knowing that those colonists would be killed and that facility destroyed? Because that's the one thing Paul Reiser's character actually seems to give a shit about, is the actual facility. And I take it from the way the movie goes, he had an idea that those aliens were there, but he ignored it. And some people say, oh no, he knew they were there and he wanted those people to get. And I'm like, that makes absolutely no sense. Why would you do that? That just opens up the floodgates for reports and people to say we saw these fucking creatures if he wants to keep them a secret. At that point,
terraforming the planet, like that's the thing. You cannot live there on the surface. By the time they get there, you can actually breathe air because they've done a successful job in the first stage of terraforming.
Well, not unless you look at it as they wanted to build a breeding farm. If they just looked at all the colonists completely expendable and just wanted to have a giant stock of alien warriors to build up, then it makes perfect sense if they think of the entire colony as expendable.
True, but my point is up to that point, there is nothing. See, because the ship never made it back. So how would they even know what was on LV-246? Right? Like, that's my whole point that people kind of forget. Is she didn't make it back until she got back and they already knew. And that's when I think Paul Reiser's character is like, oh crap, her story's matching up with some of the early reports we were hearing. Yeah. And so like,
and I'm going to lose my terraforming project and I'm going to be fired and all this stuff. So I got to go there and fix it.
And he sees that the monster or the alien as his possible ticket to getting out of trouble. But
well, that's assuming that Paul Reiser
did this in the first place. Then that's what I was seeing it too.
Well, that's assuming Paul Reiser knew everything to begin with, and he too wasn't a sacrificial pawn for the company, and they weren't withholding information from him.
Either way, it makes more sense that he didn't know or he ignored information, because once Ripley gets there, they treat her like she's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because they even have that in extended cut. I believe it's only an extended cut, or is it in the other one too, where they actually have her on trial? It's not trial, but they're like questioning her, and she's like, God damn it, if one of these fucking things gets to Earth, it's over. Right? Mm-hmm. Like that whole scene. And then they have the conversation later on where she's like, nuke the thing from orbit. That's the only way to know for sure. And Paul Reiser agrees to that, but then we find out later that he's setting her up, although we're supposed to think it's Bishop the whole time, and Bishop has no idea what the hell's going on. See, and that's where I think it's all Paul Reiser's doing and not the company's this time. See, and that's the way I saw it in the film. And I've watched the first two Alien movies like 1 billion fucking times, right? And then from there on out, I've only seen the sequels a few times. I've never read the novels. I've never read the comic books. I've never gotten into the video games. So there's a lot of people who will come at me with a bunch of shit. And I'm like, that doesn't fucking matter to me because I don't do homework. I only have what's told to me in the movies. And even by the third film, they're not that concerned with getting Ripley back. right? Like, or they would have went and found her. Like, that's the other thing. They're more concerned in the fourth film, finally, when they're kind of getting things back on track. And by then, that's another, 50, 60 years in the future or something like that is supposed to be or more, right? So, like, again, these movies have gone completely off the fucking rails from where they're supposed to be before. Like Star Trek, they need to get out of the fucking past and get in the future, way beyond everything, to the point where we're getting into like Starship Troopers mode at that point. Now, that's the kind of shit people want to see, just like with Terminator. It's like, okay, you've done all those Terminator movies now, and guess what? You can't recapture what the first two movies are, no matter how hard you try. Now is the time you say, fuck it, and you just do the future war, right? Like, that's what you got to do.
Well, didn't they try that with...
They kind of did with Salvation, and half of Salvation's good. It's the third half, or the second half, or the third quarter of the film, or whatever you want to call it. Third act of the film, I mean, where it goes off the fucking rails with that stupid AI machine and all that shit.
Still, I think that Salvation is better than those other weird ones that they tried to rewrite the history with Emilia Clarke. At least Salvation, I understand what they're doing there.
Oh, I agree. Salvation's the last watchable Terminator movie. Totally.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's get on. I did not expect to talk about Alien this fucking long. Because our big topic of the day is, I wanted to talk about this whole thing going around. The theaters are dying, and I don't know if you guys are fans of Red Letter Media or not.
Yep.
I used to be fans of them. I mean, I am still sort of. Don't watch their videos as much as I used to. I don't agree with a lot of their takes anymore. I feel like they've, when certain people get so big, they've gone mainstream. Thank you. That's exactly where he's going, Price. And if you saw, they took a shot at us and a few of our friends in their last video, because they're completely just blowing off the idea that shoving a female lead into a predominantly male franchise couldn't possibly be part of the reason why movies like Furiosa fail. So I even quit watching their video because their points to me just came off like uninformed. It's like, if you haven't been paying attention, how can you not say this is a big part of the problem? Especially when movies like Barbie and Oppenheimer and Spider-Man and Top Gun and stuff will prove that people will go to theaters if you put something there people want to see. But if you do shit like this is what's going to happen. Even movies like Garfield are being like a little movie that could, right? Like, If is another movie that for some reason is gaining ground.
It's actually holding legs. I'm actually hearing more and more parents are talking about it now. So
If is the number one movie in a bunch of foreign countries now.
Yeah,
for some reason, it's just
starting to gain
word of
ground
mouth and shit. So like
holding
little
legs.
movies like that can happen, and they can do business. Sorry, you were gonna say, Nick.
No. I was just adding to what you're saying, that If is gaining ground in some overseas markets, and its drops are really low domestically as well. So it might have it's not going to be like a breakout, but I think it's going to have a nice, small, steady, quiet run that, who knows, maybe throughout time, maybe you'll hit somewhere around 200, 250 worldwide, and who knows. But yeah, it's definitely making waves, and people are responding to it.
Well, anyway, I'm pulling for it. I know it'll never make like 500, 600, 700 million or anything like. I mean, it won't make as much as Deadpool and Wolverine, right? But
of course,
any just
it's an original movie.
Friendly original movie,
non-Disney family film.
Respond to it.
It had two problems. It was a little too high of a budget. I think they should have gotten like Jim Henson crew over there and worked on it. I think it would have helped, and I think it would have really added some charm. Plus, you could have built some publicity off that. But that being said, the biggest problem If has is its fucking name. If they would have just called it Imaginary Friend, I think it would have been fine. Because I think
Imaginary stole its thunder there, didn't it? That horror movie, Imaginary.
I don't even know what you're talking about. See, that's the thing.
Oh, the Blumhouse, the Blumhouse like low budget horror movie called Imaginary, which was about imaginary friends. Absolutely garbage movie, but it came out 3 or 4 months before If came out. And I don't
think anybody would have confused these.
That's what I was just going to say. Friend. Yeah.
No, but in the marketing, you have something called Imaginary, and then you start with Imaginary Friend. I mean, it kind of reminded me of like Dante's Peak and Volcano or Deep Impact and Armageddon, where you got these movies with the same theme coming out around the same time, with different with same idea but different genres.
Theater marquee, you go into the wrong thing because you're just looking at the first word. It's imaginary, and then imaginary friend across from each other, and then you're like,
right.
oh, I took my kids to the horror film and not the one across the hall to the family film.
What are the chances, though, if the movie came out 3 months before, that they're still going to be in theaters? Because that actually kind of gets us to the next problem here. Because they actually, yeah, exactly. Now, Script, I would agreed with you a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe.
No, 5 years ago, because that's when it was.
Maybe even 5 years ago. Yeah, you're got to be right. You got to go probably even back farther than that. Because that's the thing is, even Mike started breaking down his research and why he thinks that there's problems. And I shut it off because I started hearing him say shit that we were saying already years ago. And not only that, him just completely blowing off the woke aspect of this, to me, is the biggest problem. But I think that's number one, besides, or the next thing in line, I guess, besides the woke issue and Disney turning off the family entertainment side of things, is just that now people are used to the idea, or know that if a movie comes out, especially if it doesn't do well in theaters, it's going to hit video on demand way early. Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, the one point he had, and I watched that video that really made sense to me. And I didn't really think about it till they probably brought it up, is what, the bottleneck of the olden days, where if you wanted to go see a movie, there was one time of day at a particular theater. And if you didn't see it then, the likelihood that you would see it again anytime in the near future was pretty much zip until it came out on video, which would be a year or more after it was out of theaters. And so and now that you don't have that bottleneck, now that you can see everything instant gratification anytime you want, there's no schedule. It does break down the sense of a community experience event to going to the theater.
That would have been 20 fucking years ago, though. Maybe even 30. That's the problem. And that's kind of why I kind of tuned out, because first of all, besides them just ignoring the main problem, a lot of his stuff he started going into, like I said, seems so out of date. That's what I was saying before, that I'm like, okay, he's completely missing the point now. And that's why I just shut it off. Like, I don't think I made it past 10, 15 minutes.
No, there's a cultural ideological.
If I bring something up, please bop in there, because here's the thing. Now that we're in a post-pandemic world, the release schedule, aside from we got a little bit of a bottleneck in, what was it, March or whatever, when I was complaining that Ghostbusters got completely demolished by King Kong and whatever other movie it was that came out at that time, I can't even remember now. Like why they didn't spread that out a little bit is beyond me, because we are now in a place where it could be like the old school, because it used to be a studio would release like one bigger movie a year, and then they would release, or I mean a month. Most of them would be in the summertime and Christmas, if you want to go even farther back. But that's the era that Mike is talking about. We have lived in a world now for the last at least 20 years where you have multiplexes and movies stayed in theaters for long enough to where, unless you're talking about some really small indie movie that only shows at some art house, like, your chances of being able to go see just about any movie for a couple of weeks was pretty good, right? Like, I didn't think even movies that didn't do very well, because you had so many theaters that they could fill. I mean, the bottleneck was there during like the 2018-19 season again, when theaters were getting packed with all these big movies, when at least some of those movies you could say, yeah, they probably did get hurt by having so much competition. But even now, I just don't see that being the issue. Like, because movies show 10 times a fucking day. If you can't go see it within the first 3-4 weeks, or find a time to go see Garfield at some point in the next few weeks, then I think you got a problem, because it's showing in 20 different theaters in every town. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but what's the incentive to go to theaters when you can get your fix, at home or on your phone or anything
else?
And
that takes me back to the point of a Barbie or an Oppenheimer that gets people out of their houses to actually see something on the big screen.
Right, but that's the exception, unfortunately. That's now the exception, whereas in previous years, that would be a common event. I mean, when I went to see Ghostbusters Frozen Empire or whatever recently, I wasn't interested in seeing the movie, but I went to see it with my sister in the theater because we have seen every Ghostbusters movie in the theater since we were kids. It was the nostalgia of the experience. Outside of that franchise in the theater, I couldn't give a rip less about watching Ghostbusters movies anymore, because I know about the content, but it was about the experience. There's no experience anymore that draws people to theaters like it used to, because of the oversaturation of access. And I mean, I love the theater. I love the theater experience. But I really have to be drugged there these days, because, like you say, the quality of the films and the ideology that fuels them most of the times, but also just like the sense of going to that extra effort. It really has to be something special, like an Endgame, like an Oppenheimer. Anything beyond that, anything trashy or otherwise, I got plenty of options through Netflix.
Well, And the thing is, for the majority of people, the general audience, that was generally the case anyway before. It had to be a Jaws or a Ghostbusters or whatever to get their butts out to see it. And I mean, everybody to see it, right? Like the normal movie, and this is where I'm scuffing at this. Oh, theaters are dying because the movie's only making $30 or $40 million. It's like, no, that should be the average. $100 million plus opening weekend should be a great fucking weekend. Once you're hitting 200 million, that's where you're hitting Spider-Man No Way Home territory, and right? That's fucking blockbuster. Yeah, exactly. The problem here, and this goes again with the Hollywood thing, and we've said it a billion times, is the budgets, and that's another thing that's beside this. But you're right, Scribe. There's another side of this: the getting out to the theater, finding something that you want to see, and I think the pricing is a problem. I think the streaming is a problem. I think the confusion with streaming and what makes a streaming movie and a theatrical film a theatrical film. You got people that are not even qualified to be making theatrical films, and anybody who should be making movies in theaters are making movies for fucking streaming now. It's like the most bass-ackward shit in the world. The only thing that makes sense is fucking Zack Snyder working at Netflix. I can't figure this shit out. And again, I think the biggest complaints that people say, and this kind of gets us to our next kind of main topic of this discussion here. Because even though Fandom Wire says this is some breakthrough, it's like, no, everybody's been fucking saying this for a while, and it's probably why Quentin Tarantino is saying it too. It's not a very eye-opening statement, but the skyrocketing ticket prices explain the box office failure of 2 of 24's biggest films. I don't know if I'd agree with this or not, but I think that the growing price in going to a movie is a problem.
It's definitely
because that's why the price went up.
It's definitely a symptom of many issues.
I want to put this into perspective before I throw this out to you guys for conversation. I just want to say, because I've brought this up before, going to the theater is still one of the cheaper options that a date or a family have instead of going to a concert or most sporting events and stuff like that nowadays. It's still going to cost you a hell of a lot more than just going to the movies, right? I get it. Inflation sucks. And that's the way things are. But you got to remember, even for the general audience, taking your girlfriend out to a movie is still a lot cheaper than taking her to a fucking, a rock concert or the opera or anything like that. And he kind of brings that up here too. It's like going to the movie shouldn't cost as much as the opera. I don't know when the last time Tarantino went to the opera is, but just for kind of an idea, an Adele concert will cost you $500 to $1,500 for a ticket.
Mm-hmm. Well, opera in the nosebleed seats is around 120.
There you go. See,
ish per seat, and to take a date to a theater with all the fixings is around $100. So you're getting basically. I mean, it's still not great. I mean, I take my girlfriend to comedy clubs because they're the cheapest ones, and also
there you go.
It's $5 a night still, and then you just eat and drink and listen to comics who don't give a crap about the current ideological politics, which is actually kind of funny.
But the reason I bring this up is because a common question that people have been asking, and I think it's probably a good time to discuss it. What do you think it would? Do you think Hollywood would be open to it, or more so the general public would be open to a pricing of movies to where you have a lower price for more independent, smaller budgeted films and a more premium ticket for the more premium films? Do you think that's something that could help bring people back to theaters? Otherwise, I want to hear your guys' ideas. So, Script, you were gonna I'm gonna let you finish your thought and then come on back up the line. I want to hear what you guys all think about this whole thing.
What with regards to where you can take a date these days?
Inflation is more to say about that, I guess. Yeah, but
inflation is the biggest problem. So here's the biggest, a really huge problem with regards to your premise is that number one, it's a subtle advertisement that the cheap movie is not going to be as fun or entertaining. Number two, you also have to consider the employees at the theaters. If they're only going to be selling tickets at a low rate volume, say 700 seats, 700 seat theaters, independent film, $5 a ticket. Based on the metric of staff needed and operating costs of a theater, they're probably not going to be making any money on that, which means that your movie theaters are not going to be able to be sustainable because, again, inflation is still a thing. What is the average cost of living that is required, and how close is the average wage of a person that works on a movie theater able to attain that? And do we really want to sacrifice their wages so that we can afford to go to movies? I think it has to be a flat rate across the board, and I think it has to reflect inflation. And I also think, unfortunately, It has to reflect the budgets of the studios as well, because it's not an easy fix. I mean, right now, if it's was it $6 for a carton of eggs in the United States?
Depending on where you're at, but
yeah, if that's what we're looking at on average here, it's not just a movie theater problem; it's an entire economic problem.
Right. That's a fair point. Nick, what do you feel about this all?
Well, I see where Tarantino is coming from, and I do feel like he has some validity to his argument. I mean, yeah, I mean everything when you go anywhere, it's gonna pile up in money. Like if you take your girlfriend out for a nice restaurant, I mean that's gonna be a few hundred alone. There's tip, then there's even driving there, especially if it could be even if it's 20 minutes, half hour, especially how expensive gas is. And then if you go to a show, whether it's a smaller band, even if it's a smaller band, because I saw a guy mention in the chat about shows being cheaper at $30. And yeah, you could say the non-mainstream acts are cheaper shows. However, there's the drinks that come with that. There's still the merch that comes with that. There's still, assuming that most of those shows are in metropolitan cities, there's covering for parking. I could see his argument on that. It is still a better option. And don't even get me started on sports games. As much as I love going to them, those prices for anything, I mean, God, there's you walk in and you've already spent $100. Whether it's you walked in, you just dropped $100 on a hat or a jersey, something. So I definitely see his point. However, I mean, especially the thing is, some of those things have that's still bringing people is the excitement factor in some regard. So there's not a lot of things that are getting people like, you have to see this. And of course, that's a few issues on top of 800 other issues. The domino effect we've mentioned a lot on this show. One problem causing another problem, making bigger problems. There's no urgency. There's a lack of like, hey, you have to see this, or you truly feel like you missed out. And of course, then there's the message. So there's so many things that we already know them. Yeah, I want to be able, make it a weekly thing. In my ideal world, going to a theater would be a weekly thing. I just nowadays it's like a once a month thing, and I hate that because I want to go. And even my own kids, they love movies. They love going. They love sitting in the giant room with the big screen and having them popcorn. I'm lucky to have kids who have the attention span to watch movies, and they're all for it. We love doing that, but they gotta give us more stuff to be excited about and talk about. And it seems like they're trying to do whatever it takes to do it at the cheapest price and not quality possible, and hope that we just accept it. But I'm not just going to accept whatever they put on the platter for me. Give me something to say, okay, hey, I'm down. Let's do this.
Price?
Well, I felt the same way that everybody feels here, but or a lot of people feel. But recently, I signed up for something where you pay like $20 a month and you can see as many movies as you want at AMC. And I have to say, it's pretty convenient. I mean, not that there's great movies to watch, but since I like to watch all the new movies, and if I have time, I try to review them or at least talk about them in streams. It is a convenient option. If people got that, I think it would make sense financially.
All right. I guess that was pretty quick and to the point. Scribe, what do you think about all this?
If they want to save theaters, they need to have a period of theater exclusivity before streaming release. They need to make these things, these releases of smaller films on smaller budgets, an event in and of themselves. And I think one of the ways they can do that, take a tip from Barbenheimer. You do double features based on genre, and you invite people to come see the kind of movies they want to see at a reasonable price, but you make it an event and you make it a regular thing that people can set their calendars to. But they have to make it something where there's like sort of like the olden days where you'd have a period between when a videotape was released to a video store before it became street. You have to give it a month or two or something. And if you do it with smaller films, with smaller budgets that are more niche, you could probably swing it. But yeah, the only way to save theaters is to make sure you have something that brings people in that they can't find anywhere else for a period of time worthwhile to make a return on the investment. And I think it's possible, but like as was suggested in the Red Letter video, you'd have to have some kind of overall handshake agreement between the theater chains to set something like that up, or to set up a series of things like that in a rotating schedule to make people want to come to the theater for something they can't get anywhere else. Not only the content, but the experience with the audience and the community with that content.
Interesting. CC?
Yeah. All right, so I'll take this from two different perspectives. First of all, if I'm taking a date to the theater, or maybe a family, but let's say I take a date to the theater and she wants to get the popcorn and the drink, and suddenly she's paying $20 for that, and if I'm not paying for it, and then I say to myself, well, that's a lot of money for the popcorn and the drink, so I don't get the popcorn and the drink, and then she gives me a dirty look because I'm too cheap to get the popcorn and the drink, and now I'm in the doghouse. And it'd be the same thing if if this was my wife or something, and I had a family. Well, so I got to pay $100 for all the concessions, or otherwise I'm in the doghouse. I'm on the couch, I'm cheap, So at that point, I'm kind of stuck for it. And the movie, if I'm paying $5 instead of $10, or $10 instead of 15 for the tickets, that's not really a factor anymore against all the concessions, right, that I have to buy. On the other hand, and there's the other side of this coin. If anybody has been to the Costco in the last couple of years, you know what a circus show that is. I mean, it always was, but especially nowadays, that it's the only affordable place. I'm not trying to like say, this is not an advertisement, but I mean, affordable groceries are a difficult thing right now, right? So when I go there, it's like I try to go, 20 minutes before they open, and I still can't get a place to park. And the lineup, I mean, if you've been to one of these places, it goes back all the way to the back of the grocery store. Sometimes if you get there at prime time, it's a complete zoo. And that's because people do care about saving a couple. They will go to ridiculous lengths to save money. Like last week, there's this soup I like that used to be $4. Now it's $5.50. So I tried to find the one grocery store in town that was selling it for $4.50 on sale, right? And I spent the whole day driving to every location of that grocery store all over the city to buy all the soup at $4.50 because I knew I'd never get it for $4.50 ever again, right? So if I walk into the theater, I'm much more likely to see a movie that's cheaper if I wasn't really considering it. Now, if I made plans to see the movie, if I wanted to see Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm seeing that, right? But a movie like If, or even Garfield, or anything that I'm a little less aware of, if it's half the price, and I'm looking at this big blockbuster and I'm thinking, I've heard mediocre things, I'm kind of interested. Then there's this movie I haven't heard of and it's way, way cheaper. The cheap price saving me that doesn't want to buy the concessions is definitely going to the cheaper movie, right? So I can see that drawing people in.
All right, Kalabi, are you back? He had to step away, I know.
Yeah, I don't think he's I got one I will add. It's
Sure.
gonna be a very unpopular take, and they need to get rid of assigned seating. No, here's the thing. I understand the pros.
Just make it like my personal combat or something.
Once again, it was, if you want to go there, once again, you want to give people the urgency to go see a movie. You need, between stretching out the gap between movies going to streaming. When I wanted to go see a movie, if I was there and wanted to see a movie, I made sure I do whatever it takes to make sure I open up that time to make sure I got that decency. It felt like there's, and it was funny because I would see some of those dedicateds right there with me. I agree why it's convenient, but that's once again, there's a lot of these little convenient things that have been taken for granted that we rest on them.
I'm of two minds on that one.
On them. So
I agree
really
with you.
It needs
at a point.
to go. Yes,
the reason,
I would drive 1 hour early to Vina Duckworth all the time. I made it happen. I know it's not convenient, but do I want?
It's not even about convenience. Okay, I have a story that I'm sure most of the people on the panel and chat have heard before, so I'll try to keep it quick. But what one reason why I do like assigned seating, and I never really gave a shit before, and I know it's a newer thing to the US public, especially the more rural areas that aren't so used to it. And I even do have one theater in my area that still doesn't, or at least a few that don't have it yet. But when I went to see one of the Jurassic Park movies, not the last one, but the one before, they played the wrong movie in the theater, and it was Deadpool 2. So they had to switch theaters, okay? And then they had to switch back again. And between the process of both times, lost our good seats. And it pissed me off. Because I'd started the night in the middle section because I showed up early. And then by the time we had done our switching and shit, went from shittier seats to even worse seats. I wasn't going to sit, and I even fucking said that. We've switched seats so many times now. I don't know why you guys just didn't keep us in the same theater to begin with. Makes absolutely no fucking sense. And so, to me, the assigned seating would have fixed that whole problem. There wouldn't have been an argument or anything with anybody or any problems with any seating at that point.
I still see it. I mean, I get your point, and that is very fair and valid. I still see problems all the time with people arguing over seats and where people are all the time, even with assigned seats. It's especially like when I had like some of the mega showings, like Endgame, Spider-Man. Oh man, I'm just like, people, just be happy you're here.
It's hard to put that genie back in the bottle once you've already allowed people to get used to choosing their seats. I think that even though I don't disagree with an aspect of what you're saying, Nick, I think it's not practical. There's no way you can tell people that they won't choose their seats.
I think. I mean, maybe of cases,
I don't think it's as much of a genie as people like to think. I mean, it can be done. People will complain about it. Of course, people are going to complain about it, but
they may stop going to your
give
theater.
them the movie. Yeah, I doubt. If you give them the movies that they want, and once again, between that and stretching the gap and make it something mega, I think more people
should. Okay, here's one way they could cure a lot of the problems with that, though. Here's where I agree with like a way you could kind of fix it on both ends. If like you're not there 5 minutes before showtime, then your seat could go up for sale. Like that's what I say. Like that's where it pisses me off, because like if you're somebody who comes in and like you want to see a movie and if it's sold out, then yeah, if because I've been to movies where I know there's supposed to be more people around me and they didn't show up. Not that the show is sold out, but if it was sold out, I could see somebody being pissed off, right? And find if they had found out that there was opening seating and they could have saw the film. So in like that case, I think they should like set that up as part of the deal. Like if you don't show up 5 minutes before the show, you pretty much forfeit your seat. Like, yeah, you can still show up late and get a seat, but you're not going to get the seat that you reserved. See what I'm saying, Nick? Like that's something that could possibly fix both ends of it. But that's not even one of the bigger problems, I think, here. I think the bigger problem here...
It's not. I'm just looking at it
the way that...
more thing to add to the urgency. I'm looking at it from the perspective of urgency. You want to make people want to feel like they earned, seeing this thing, that they want to make them feel like they are committing to something. Once again, that urgency.
There's no movie lines anymore.
Do you remember when the Phantom Menace came out? Because I do.
Movies like that. Oh yeah, dude.
I got to the theater more than 3 hours before my showtime, and the lineup was already about a couple hundred meters outside of the theater. It went through the theater and out the front doors and a couple hundred meters. I mean, I was way back in line, and I got a crappy seat, and that was 3 hours ahead of time. But I think, as much as I love assigned seating for the vast majority of things, it was moments like that. And even Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, as much as that movie crashed, I saw it on opening night, and I still had to line up hours ahead of time to be at the back of the line. Because the first weekend was huge, right? And I think there are certain occasions where I have such great memories of standing in line, sitting in line and meeting people who were in line with me and talking to them and getting excited about the movie.
Dude, first Toby Spider-Man. I remember being in line for that opening night with a bunch of people who were really, basically it was almost like we were going to a rock concert for that. And those people who were getting there early for those seats for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, I did that for Dream Theater and Iron Maiden once. I was that time I got to the front of the pit. Because I was hours early. I was at the very front. And it's like Yeah. And then we all stormed to the stage from the front of the lineup as soon as they brought down the ropes. That's great.
I got one real quick. So the prequels, when Phantom Menace came out, I went out to the theater. I skipped college that day, and I go out to the theater, and there were like 8 people in tents in front of the box office, and they'd been there all night, and I was the 9th guy in line. And I looked at these guys, thought, "Oh man, I feel sorry for you." And so over the next couple of hours, people start building up, and the line is starting to build. And I was like 2 or 3 hours ahead of the showtime. And then while people are waiting, it's this huge event, right? The new Star Wars movie. There was a Hooters restaurant literally across the way from the theater. And these Hooter girls come out and start handing out free chicken wings to people just as a promotion thing. So you got these barely clothed Hooters girls like handing all these Star Wars nerds were just going nuts. It was amazing. Got free chicken. And then this little chowder place across the way, they started coming out with these tiny little bowls of clam chowder for like $1 each just to feed people as they wait in line. It was the greatest nerd event I'd ever attended short of a convention. And it was amazing. And I thought, I remember thinking at the time as I was standing in line, I am never going to experience something like this again in my entire life. But it was great.
I don't even know if we
only
can
saw
do
people with tents after a couple of days. I remember the news reporting people lining up in 1997 for Phantom Menace.
Yeah, there was
for months.
They were up early. Well, yeah, there was the people that lined up for the pre-sales, and then they lined up for the seats to get in when they got in, and it was a big deal.
That was the original Tent City. I mean, I've seen those.
Dude, The Dark Knight in 2008. I think that was right before.
I don't even know if you can make that work anymore.
I think that was right before the assigned seating thing is taken over, and also, that's another thing. Midnight screenings were actually at midnight. Don't get me wrong. Now I know that one I'm mixed feelings on because, well, it's nice to be able to talk about the movies at 8 p.m. on shows, but man, I'll tell you what though, there was a special feeling about seeing something at midnight with the rowdiest of the rowdiest people. It was awesome. It really felt like you were there with the diehards of movies, seeing like
the theaters complained about that. So that's why that went away. Yeah, because they had to have extra staff on for extra hours, and it was causing a lot of issues. And I think what really brought it to a head is I think somebody ended up dying in a car crash on their way home because of lack of sleep or some shit. It was a stupid thing that it was like they were just like, okay, fine. From now on, we're just going to do it. Something like that, if I remember right. It could even be an urban legend, but the point is that at one point they threw all that out the door, and I think it was one of the Avengers films. They opened at like 7:00 one night.
Age of Ultron. Even if that's true, honestly, I mean, not that I don't want to take the events of that stuff seriously because that's really unfortunate, but I don't think that's a justifiable reason because those are types of things that could still happen during the day or night anyway, even for a 10:00 showing or even 9:00.
True, but like, I mean, you got to look at it this way too. Like most movie theaters, unless you're in a big city where they're like showing movies for almost 24 hours or are showing them 24 hours a day, like a lot of majority of theaters in the country run from like 11 a.m. to like 11 at night. And that means their last showing of a movie starts around 9. So it means they can get everybody out of there by midnight or sooner. So you're looking at a situation where a movie wouldn't even start until midnight. So there weren't people getting out of there until after bar time. And that may have been what it was they got hit by a drunk driver or something like that because it was right around bar time. Yeah, it could have been that too. I don't remember. Or the story grew over time. Who knows? Point being, if somebody remembers in the chat and they want to correct me, feel free. But like, I knew it had something to do with that and the theater owners and stuff complaining about all the extra staffing and hours and shit they were dealing with the midnight showings and the rowdier crowds. And it just wasn't worth it for them. And they asked if they could just do them earlier and earlier, and they got to the point where they just started doing them on Thursdays at 7. And that just became the new.
Now it's a full day.
Yeah, it's the whole nerd thing. Is depending on the film, it's either 7:00 or they just start the day with it on Thursday, which is kind of weird, but it is what it is. And again, like I mean, I guess to answer the original question, unless are you back yet, Clobby?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're back now. Okay, so like I know you missed the whole thing. So the original question was, are theaters dying? And nobody really answered that because it was so far in the past. And I will say, no, I don't think theaters are dying. But I guess I'll give my take so then Clobby kind of knows where we're coming from here.
Go for it, yeah.
As far as like, I agree with you guys. Like we need a better system of films for the theaters. And here's the thing is we all say that maybe a pricing system wouldn't work, but we're already living in that world. And I don't think you realize it. Because like in what world is a movie like Sound of Freedom going to open up in an IMAX screen? It's not. So we're already paying premium prices for shit. And so I think the transition wouldn't be as difficult as people think. And I think it might be more incentive. Although I do agree with everything Script is saying. He's not wrong. It would be a more incentive for theaters to carry smaller films in some ways too, because that's the thing is a lot of these smaller companies can't even bother to ask for the kind of, percentage break that a Disney or a Warner Brothers can for a bigger film, for instance. And that's the other thing that's killing the theaters is when Disney and these guys come in and say, well, we want X amount of opening weekend. And then now they're putting them on POV, PVOD or whatever right away as well. That's where the theaters got to come in and do something. They had the power in their hands for a while. What they need to do is try to rein in the price somehow, some way by working shit out with the theaters, with studios, to where they have more power again and go with more of a 50-50 split or a 60-40 split across the board for all opening films from here on out, because they can't afford to risk that anymore with this, giving X amount to the theater, to the studios. The theaters don't get dick, right? Because that's the problem here. And that's why they have to do what they do. And that's why they charge how much they charge. That's why it's so expensive to get anything at the fucking theaters. And I've said this before, that's why they can't afford to have the extra people working there to clean up the floors in between shows like they should and all that kind of stuff half the time, because they've got 20 fucking screens and only 2 people working there. And I'm not even being hyperbolic.
No.
Right? Like, because they can't afford anybody else. And when the system is all pretty much done on its own automatically, all these 2 people are doing is taking tickets and making shit at the concession stands. Right? So like, maybe there's 4 or 5 working at prime time, but I'm not kidding. I've talked to theater, managers and owners and shit. And I try to gauge and understand what's going on with them and why the things are the way they are and what things they could and would change if they could. And, in the bigger cities where you have a lot of these more premium screens and stuff like that, like I already see it as kind of a price difference, because I know if I go to see a re-release of a film, it's even going to be cheaper than normal. And, you look at the price of a theater ticket now, and then when you go in, this is the part that I hate about reserved seating. This is where I'll agree with you guys on the reserved seating. The extra cost that gets tacked on to that.
There's an extra cost?
Yes. Everything that you do on,
I did not know that.
Yeah, whether it's Fandango or you go through their website, they tack on an extra $2 to $3. It's called a convenience fee.
Yep.
But even if you go directly to the theater thing, they also tag on a convenience fee.
Yep. That's what I was going to say. They even do it at the theater too.
Tax. Yeah.
That's kind of crappy. I really don't like that sneaky thing. It's
My
like, you're
mind
the
is
theater.
blown.
What convenience? Screw you.
Look an idiot.
The beauty of my world is I look old enough that I just get a senior ticket and nobody questions me. So it's basically the price I would pay without that fucking convenience. No joke. I'm glad you laughed though, because it's true. It's a fucking true story. I do.
Well, no, it's like, congratulations, you're a senior citizen. Here's your free.
Well, the senior tickets are cheaper than a children's ticket, because I used to buy children's tickets for seats on the side of me if I knew something might fill up and I didn't want anybody sitting next to me.
What age did you have to be to get that?
I think he's like 50 something.
I always forget to ask. Man, but
you should probably
all
be
these
old
years I could have gotten it.
I'm 5 years out from the discounted
like 10
tickets,
years out or
so-
whatever, but yeah, they've never asked.
Order them online,
Once I went to the theater, and this was in recent years, and I guess I didn't shave or something like that, and the guy was like, well, if you want, you could say you're a senior. He was trying to help me, like that I'll get like a cheaper ticket. And like on one hand, I was offended that he would think that I'm a senior, and on the other hand, I took the ticket.
It's probably because the studio takes half of that. See, that's the thing. Like, those kind of discounts and coupons and stuff they encourage, but it depends on what it is. And the other things I've seen the theaters do now, this used to only be a thing for like movies like Star Wars and shit, but like almost every single studio picture now, they won't take passes on. So like if you have like special passes for anything, like a free movie ticket or whatever, they won't let you use it for anything of these major studio releases. So there's already like a separation now between what is a movie, big movie, like studio picture, and some of these smaller pictures. But again, unless you're talking about some of these indie pictures, they're still spending way too much on some of these standard films. It's getting crazy. But yeah, So the big question is, Clobby, is what is driving folks away from the theaters? I mean, the obvious answers that we came up with right away was the woke
you guys
stuff
handled it all. I don't have
and all
to
that
take
kind of
it.
stuff. But I mean, I know I wanted everybody's take on that. What you would feel about like a pricing system as well, because that was the other part of the story. Was Tarantino said part of the problem is that movie theaters just cost too much to go to.
What's wrong with the thing that I got that you pay $20 and go for as many?
Do
movies
they
as
allow you
want?
to see the brand new movies as they come out? Though,
Yeah, I can do whatever I want.
That's because that's a deal through AMC or whatever. But like,
Right.
yeah, otherwise,
I mean, they only
like
they
Marcus
limited
theaters and stuff that don't have that, they won't accept passes and shit.
three movies a week. That's what they limit you to. But you know what? How many movies a week do I need to see? 3 a week, and usually aren't so many good ones to see anyways. But I figure for that amount of money, if I go once even every week, it's still worth it.
Yeah. And then Pat's right. I mean, there's been like to me, Godzilla -1. They should have spread it out even more than they did already, because it did very well, and RRR could have done a lot better probably than it did too. So there are those, there's the foreign releases now that are making their way into theaters. So it's not like there isn't stuff that you couldn't put in theaters that people want to see. And like Goddess of Whim, I think she's still in the chat. She was talking earlier about she went to see The Crow re-release last week, and she said it was a packed house. Almost everybody I've talked to that went to see it said it was a packed house. In fact, I think it's going to be funny that if we go see the numbers on that, and that did better than what the new movie will do when it finally comes out.
It will, especially
Will.
there was a I wanted to go catch it, but the only issue is like the Transformers in my area, they only had like 1 or 2 screenings, and there are times
I heard that
couldn't
was a
go.
bust though, Nick. So I wouldn't feel so bad about missing that.
Well, okay, but point being is, bust
Yeah,
or
yeah.
not, for Transformers or The Crow, point being is they are bringing in people, and I heard because one of my buddies went to go check out The Crow. He's like, "Oh, dude, he's like it was at least 80% full." I'm like, "That's awesome to see." And no, I'm happy. Like that lets me know, hey, the theaters are doing well, and that people are still willing to go out to see a movie in theaters. So I love hearing that stuff, and I do have a great local theater we love supporting. So it's just nice to see when that happens. So yeah, give us.
I'm just saying that's 5 years old. Either that's 5 years old or they're just recycling something. Because but anyway, that being said, it's still pertinent to the conversation of what I was getting to. Is I don't think theaters are dead. I think it's more so a movie studio problem than it is a theater problem.
Agreed.
To be honest with you, and I think that I think we all can probably agree that the way that just the economy is right now with the inflation, a lot of folks are just on the recession of not going out and doing things, period, let alone going to, I don't think the movies are being ignored or anything like that. I just think it's obvious that if you say, well, I'm not going to go see Furiosa, especially considering it flopped at opening weekend, I know it'll be on streaming in less than 30 days. And lo and behold, it'll be on streaming, I think, next fucking week.
Yeah, the price I pay for gas to get from here to the theater is probably more than the ticket at this point.
Well, that's just it. When a movie's only $24.99 or whatever to buy on video on demand, 36 to 40 days after whatever it is that comes out, right there is,
and you pay that one price for. Yeah, you pay that one price for, like, you could host a whole house full of people for that one price rather than buying individual tickets for more. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is part of the problem. So, and here's where I think the studios need to stop and go, wait a minute, what the fuck are we doing? Because they're cannibalizing their own business. This, I think, is the biggest thing besides the woke problem, right? Is why would people waste their time and spend their money and effort on going to see a film when there's chances are it's going to suck? And like I just said, it costs less for you to buy it on demand or even wait 2-3 months for it to be on Amazon or Netflix or whatever streaming service that it is it's supposed to be on that you choose, or whatever. At that point, why the fuck would you go out to the theater to see it? There's no fucking reason. Now, I'm not saying that every movie should stay in theaters nonstop forever. No, the system worked. And I think Script, I don't know if you agreed with me or not, but I would say the 1990s were the most profitable period for the movie studios ever, when they had the perfect machine between the amount of movies they were putting out in theaters, the budgets they were spending on them, DVD and home video, bringing in the back end, and they had video on demand and, the old pay-per-view. And then you had, HBO market and the network market and the cable market, like we said before. I mean, to me, I don't see how there could have been any other time in the history of movies that they could have been more profitable than they were at that point.
I think it was actually, I mean, video on demand didn't come in until like 2002. I think that is.
Oh no, we had pay-per-view way before that.
Well,
we had that way back in the day.
Is different, right? Because pay-per-view is sometimes also.
Oh yeah,
scheduled.
that's what I meant was pay-per-view is what I was getting
same
at.
Program repeated 24/7, and then you pay to have access to a window of that. Video on demand was you just pay and you play it, and it's like a home.
Right, but the point was video pay-per-view then turned into video on demand was my point. But
yeah, I don't know, man. The profits between 2001 and 2010 in movies and secondary markets, secondary windows was probably a little bit higher than the stuff in the 90s.
Okay, I would say from 1995 to 2000. What did you say? 2010.
2010. That 15-year stretch was actually pretty damn good.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, because that's when the advent of DVD and everything, yeah.
It was almost as equal to the value that happened during the 80s with the VHS market blew up as well, because it blew up not just on the home video side of things, but the fact that the rental companies were buying at face value to do their own rentals. So studios were making money hand over fist at that point. When DVD came in, the prices were a little bit lower because the overhead was lower.
Yeah,
but the percentage wise of what they were making was nowhere near as big as what it was in the early parts of the 80s. But I would say, yeah, the late 90s up until the 2010s, right before web series became a thing, and then the whole internet getting involved, was probably the peak profitable window.
Because you also had the explosion of cable at that time too. That was the other side of it. So you had like the TBSs and the
cable was huge. The other aspect being is that it also hurt the industry because the straight to home video and straight to DVD market ended up exploding larger to the point where for 8 years, from the time I started until 2012, your feature film didn't matter what it made at the box office because it was only to sell for the home video market. And that vanished when Netflix did their thing and went with the streaming service, because before then it was you'd sell your rights rentals, you'd sell your rights to Blockbuster and all the other video chains, and you would make a bigger killing than you could ever imagine at the theater, even if you had a 3 or 4 month run. Like that.
Yeah, because I know
movie theaters were the commercial for home video, and that ended up being proven correct, unfortunately, with the streaming market.
And I know another thing that helped was, believe it or not, the thing that killed my video store at first was 9/11, but it also helped the movie market after things calmed down, because what happened was people didn't want to go on vacation. So they stayed home, and the advent of home theaters was at its peak. So instead of spending money on going on vacation, people would buy a home theater and they buy a bunch of DVDs. And so that's where a lot of people started their DVD collections at that time. So that, yeah, you're right. That peak 2002, 2003, 2004 era was definitely probably the absolute height. Especially when you had films like that was also the start of the superhero.
It was the resurgence of them, yeah, because you had that slow build up
for the modern one
Batman,
anyway.
And because there's a Batman movie every couple of years from 89 to 97, so that year dominated your superhero stuff. People were looking forward to the Batman movies. Then you had peppered in, you had the Shadow, you had the Phantom, you had Blade, you had Spawn.
Well, it also corresponds with Spider-Man coming out in 2002.
Yeah, and then Spider-Man was the renaissance of that era, right? So
yeah,
because you had X-Men and you had Blade and X-Men kind of build up towards that, and then it really blew up with Spider-Man, and then that's kind of started the run with a couple of dips, with obviously because it was Sony.
Oh, it was a whole lot of dip.
Hulk was a dip,
dominating the superhero market.
Dip, no chip.
Yeah, until MCU started, basically it went from Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, X-Men 2. We had to hit a peak there, and then all of a sudden we started getting Spider-Man 3 and X-Men 3 and fucking Incredible Hulk and Fantastic Four and garbage.
X-Men Origins Wolverine. You got Punisher Warzone, which I think came out around that period.
Or not Incredible Hulk, but the original Hulk. I meant
Hulk, the Ang Lee one, which was
that's what I meant. Daredevil, yes, all that era, yes.
Warzone was 2008, I think. The first Punisher movie is 2004.
Oh yeah, you're right. That's
well, technically, the Dolph Lundgren was the first one. That was
well, yeah, but that's old school. Yeah.
The MCU. I mean, the MCU era technically started in 08 or 9 or whatever it was when the first Iron Man came out, but I consider it starting in 2012 actually, because I think before then they were still building up to that. We didn't quite have this knowledge of what was going on. As soon as Avengers hit, And it was like, okay, now not just Spider-Man and Batman are these big superheroes, because you also had Superman Returns and some other shit in between there as well. You got to remember.
Yeah.
And
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern. Exactly. No, that was Campia, not me.
I didn't hate Superman Returns, although I'm ashamed
to
say that. I didn't hate it. I don't know why I
disliked two main things about it. Three main things I dislike about Superman Returns. One, it failed to relaunch Superman. It made him too much of an emo. That's kind of two. And the ending sucked.
Okay.
I saw it in theaters. But
and the casting of Lois Lane would be my extra one.
It's got a lot of things. A lot of bad things in the movie. A lot of bad things.
Yeah, like you got the only thing Superman punches is the fucking ground.
Right. No, but he does have some really good saves in that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some
movie,
bits I love about it. That's the sad part. But
and I know it's not popular to say, but Spacey was good as Lex Luthor. I thought he was pretty.
He was
good.
a threatening Lex because we know he's capable of killing.
I mean, the biggest problem is it does what all the other sequels did, which is it retreaded other earlier ideas. Lex Luthor wants more land again. Great. We've already seen that.
Yep.
Oh, Lois Lane and Superman are kind of not a thing yet. Okay, well, we've already seen that too. You bring in James Marsden as the red herring, guy in between for the love triangle stuff. That was boring. Frank Langella as Perry White was actually really, really great.
Yeah.
I don't like him much.
But I will say this: they screwed up with the costume. They made it too feminized, like tight collared, little booties, and little.
And Superman wouldn't leave for 5 years.
Well, no, I mean, here's the thing: if you can set up the thing like, oh, he's going to go to see if Krypton's there, and he's stuck between a rock and a hard place of, do I leave Earth to check out of this thing and get some answers, or do I stay here with that? And if he consults with Lois and she says, listen, we'll be okay without you, but we'd still like you here, because again, you're dealing with something that is actually very true to Superman's character, which is he's alone as an immigrant, but he feels very united with Earth. However, he does want to know more about his heritage, and he's always going to feel at arm's reach from that. That is perfectly logical to play into. The question being is you have to establish that the world could get by without him, and that the choice has to be a personal one. And I think they did a really bad job doing that, because it's well, if there were Green Lanterns and Batman and Wonder Woman around, could they watch over Metropolis while he does this? And if that was the case, you could buy into it. But they decided Warner Brothers was doing the dumb thing at the time where they're like, we're going to isolate our heroes. We're going to make them soft connected, but we're never going to have any fun with that. And then Marvel seized on such an opportunity. They made what ended up being the MCU. And then, of course, they dropped the ball. But aside from that, the premise was kind of weak. In overall essence, it's they also cut out the biggest part, which is that Lex Luthor and Cal Penn's character are the ones that forged the information to get Superman to leave Earth. And
it's all dumb in the beginning anyway. Yeah. That's what I thought it was stupid. Is it because it should have there should have been another way. Well, for one, them having this whole idea of Superman being an illegitimate father to a kid just because he was gone for 5 years was kind of dumb. Even though I always had an idea for a story that I'm sure has been utilized before. But when this movie came out, I kind of dumped the idea of ever even trying to pursue it as a Superman comic.
Does it involve a giant robotic spider?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, actually, real quick. I'll try to keep it real quick. It's just basically Superman and Lois have a child. And she dies during childbirth because of the complications of it being half Kryptonian child.
Yeah.
And so Superman... Yeah, so Superman kind of goes into a bit of a, like I said, it's probably been utilized already. This was something I came up with 20 years ago or 30 years ago, whatever it was before Superman Returns. And basically, so Superman kind of goes into a funk for a while as his son is getting older. Lex kind of figuring out everything that's going on, takes the son in and kind of molds him in his image instead, because of course dad isn't paying attention. This is before all the bad dad tropes, before everybody fucking jumps on me. But of course this wakes Superman up to realizing he fucked up, and now he's got to save his son and everything like that, even though his son is now basically brainwashed by Lex Luthor.
Sounds like Hook.
It kind of was a hookish kind of story, but again, it's something now that would be, it's been overdone and it wouldn't work now. But at that point when they had the son thing, and I'm like, yeah, we all knew it was his kid. That's kind of lame.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah, the way it played out.
They tried to make him asthmatic so you wouldn't notice.
I mean, I didn't hate that part, but it still didn't make quite much sense. I'm like, you got to explain why, right? Like,
right? How is he asthmatic and Superman?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's like either one or the other. Either he's gonna have problems, or it's
he gets the asthma from his mom's side of the family.
I think Robert Meyer Burnett said the spoiler of that is the fact that the Kryptonian and human DNA was so unstable that the kid was eventually going to die, and that's why he would be powerful and then asthmatic and sick in the other.
See, now that would actually make more sense and have been a bit more of a interesting story of Superman trying to figure that one out. But anyway, let's get to some super chats here. Jeremy Winfield says with $2, our theater's dead. You see the Venom 3 trailer? Oh, I mean, I guess it looks better than part 2, but that's not saying much.
Yeah, that's not a compliment.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really have zero interest in this, so I mean, unless anybody else wants to say anything about it.
Yeah, it looks terrible.
Really. I thought the Venom movie series in itself was a dumb idea anyways, and I thought the aesthetic tone and look of it was actually garbage. It looks like it looked like a late 80s Golan Globus, shoot on the backlot movie with CGI.
Which is kind of like why I liked the first film, even though I didn't expect to. But then after that, it's kind of like, the gimmick wore off. It's like, this is nice as a kind of fun throwback movie. But other than that, it kind of sucks as a Venom movie. So
the characters are completely wrong. I never understood.
I agree.
In the absence of Spider-Man and everything else, I mean, at the time that he first appeared, Venom was one of the most menacing, scary characters in the Spider-Man pantheon, and turning it into an odd couple comedy romp, like, it offends me to my core. I don't know what else to say.
I had an Apocalypse overpower card, and I traded it for a Venom overpower card.
I'll say the unpopular thing too is I'm not the world's biggest Tom Hardy fan. I know, like, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, depends on the role.
I really don't think he's that great of an actor. I think he's over fucking hyped as an actor.
He's a talented Jai Courtney because they look almost the same.
That's the other thing, is he's one of the doofiest looking motherfuckers in the world. And I'm not, and I get it. I'm a fucking chode, right? I have no room to talk. But he's an actor, right? He's getting paid millions of dollars to be on screen for people to see. Like, fucking, how the fuck did this guy get to this place? He was
great in Bronson. What can I say? I really did like Bronson.
I mean, I haven't seen that. Some people say he's great in that, but honestly, I feel like he's the same in just about everything except for Nemesis, where he was overhamming it up.
Well, he was getting during Nemesis.
I forget what it was called, but there was one where he was like, it was a one-man show. It all took place in a car, and he was driving, and it was almost like a stage play. It did really good in that. I forget what the name of that was. But yeah, that and Bronson, a couple of things. Sorry.
The script said something I didn't hear.
Oh yeah, during the Star Trek Nemesis days, Tom Hardy was a coke addict.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because he is like off the fucking charts in that movie. You're just like, where did they find this fucking guy? And then later on, when you realize he's the same Tom, like, he's Tom Hardy, because he beefed up and he doesn't really look the same anymore.
He started eating and just got off the coke.
Yeah, right. And you're just like, what the fuck, man? And now every time he acts, it's just the same thing.
I will say this:
like,
Star Trek Nemesis introduced me to the idea of something that I thought was, I mean, it's definitely cultural and limited, unfortunately, to the United States. But it's the fact that, we're going to clone Jean-Luc Picard, so naturally his clone is going to have a British accent, even though he lived and grew up on Romulus. Accents are not genetic, but for some strange reason, Americans in Hollywood and for some odd parts sparse throughout the United States that I visited to think that accents are genetic and not a part of regional dialect adoption.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious.
What is that?
Didn't they say something about that in like the making of it, or like one of the commentaries? I can't remember.
I can't remember, but they do bring that up in Star Trek Picard season 3, and they explain it to the fact that he adopted the accent when he was at school in the UK, and he never shook it. And it's like, okay, at least you explained that, because
that never made sense anyway. Because wasn't Picard supposed to be French?
He's French, but the French language died by the 23rd century.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Oh,
I never caught that. I guess I just never. I know people have joked about it.
Joke Next Generation, yeah.
Yeah. And then Jay gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much for that, Jay. That was very, very generous of you. And then he also sent in a $5 super chat and said, "Theaters are waiting on transplant, new purpose, or cure. Studios go back to pre-lockdown setup and staff. I expect the bulk to go out." Ooh, so you don't have a very, very good outlook for theaters in your prognosis. So there you go. Dr. J, I should say. Mexican Iron Man is in the house. How you doing, Mikey? He sends in 10 and says, I like the trailer, and if you guys don't like it, then you're all bigots and racists and xenophobes. And need support, and them, aliens. There's that, aliens? Beings? Yeah, alien beings. Yeah. Thank you for that, Mike. Shanotsky says, imagine Ghost in the Darkness, but with 2 aliens. Exactly.
I have something to say to Mikey.
Or Island of Dr. Moreau.
I have something to say to Mikey.
Okay.
Yeah,
we're waiting.
So basically, he recommended that Atlas movie with Jennifer Lopez. He said that people were saying,
you took him seriously?
He said it was fantastic. And then I watched it, and it was awful.
Wow.
You know why he says that?
It's a
Wow.
Because he likes Jennifer Lopez. He ain't watching the fucking movie.
I like her too, but it doesn't make the movie watchable. It's a terrible movie.
He's just sitting here watching boing, 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 boing through the whole movie. That's all he gives a shit about.
I think she cries through the whole movie.
She does cry a lot, yes.
What is she? She cries like Shruti Gatwa?
Yeah.
Yes, all the time. She
Like
cries.
I heard that in
Non-stop.
one of the reviews. Somebody was talking about that review. Somebody posted that somewhere. I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere on X or something like that. Somebody did like the most hilarious review of Atlas. It's like, okay, I'm watching Atlas. Like 20 minutes into the movie, they're like, oh my God, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. She's crying. This is like the second time she's crying. Then he pops in again. She's crying again. We're 30 minutes into the movie. I've been watching it for the last 3 hours. He's like, here we are again. She's crying again. She ends up crying like 20 fucking times by the end of the movie because he keeps popping in every time she's crying. And like the last 5 minutes of the movie, it's like she's crying again, and this is a new cry. Like, so every time you had to signify that this is a new cry, you know, it's like, oh my God, how many times can you fucking cry in a movie? So I guess it was like what, 12, 13 times or something like that, Price? I don't even know.
It felt like it was ongoing.
Wow.
I feel like there were long stretches of her crying for no apparent reason.
Yeah, the best part of his review is like, we're 30 minutes in and I've been watching this movie for the last 3 hours.
Because like there's an hour or something that she's inside this kind of suit, like this armor type of suit thing, and she can't get out, and she's not talking to anybody except for like a Jarvis style AI. And the AI talks about her life with her, and every second she's remembering her childhood and crying. And it's very weird. I mean, I think that thing really should be shorter. I don't think it should have gone on for a whole hour, but an hour of the movie is exactly that.
Well, JLo's not very beloved right now. She canceled her whole tour.
Yeah, now she's not beloved. See, I was way.
She's never been all that beloved,
I've been
to be honest
saying
with
that
you.
for a long time. That she is one scummy bitch. Now
Her
the rest of the
music has
world
never been
is
her
finding
highlight, anyways. I mean, I think that most guys like that they're fond of her, but I don't think anybody's sitting around. I don't know anybody that has like a CD of hers that, you know, pops or on Spotify says like, let me put on a good JLo album. That's never happened.
Talking about it last night on Toxic.
All her guest appearances on South Park.
Her whole personality, love life is a
that was Chip Connors.
Scam. It's a scam. She's a whole. My love don't cost a thing. Look at everything that her love
Only
costs.
Ben's
All
whole
the
career.
divorce, all the terrible acting. Like her love costs you everything. Look at how much Ben Affleck has aged in the last.
That's what I just said. Her love cost
Since
Ben
he went
Affleck his
back to
career
her.
for a while there.
Ben Affleck has aged 10 years in the last 2 or 3 years since he went back.
He got smart and got the fuck up out of there.
Again?
That's what this is all about. So in reality,
Yeah.
like she isn't actually canceling. She's supposedly canceling shit because she needs personal time because her and Ben broke up again. And I guess she's had an army of bots out there trying to help her image through all these things. Because we were talking about it last night. And you guys are right. Like her movie career was always bigger than her music career, and she's never had that great of a movie career.
Oh, dude, her movies have always been awful. I remember like thinking, why is she in this movie about apes? What was it called? Congo? And then she was in
No, she was not in Congo. She was in Anaconda.
Anaconda. That's what
Anaconda was fucking horrible. It's fun for a cheesy movie, but like
John
I saw
Voight
it in the
didn't take that
theater.
seriously enough because he did that voice throughout the entire film.
Yeah, right. That movie is like, I can't even imagine it holding up now. I've not seen it in like 20 years. I saw it in the theater and I'm like, well, I'm never going to watch that again.
The CGI is terrible.
That's why I was like, oh my God.
It looks like a Corman picture or something at this point. You know,
if it was a Corman picture, it'd have been better. Sorry, what was that, Bryce?
Did she really officially break up with Affleck, or it's just rumors now?
I know. As far as I know, he left her.
Okay.
Which wouldn't surprise me.
Make another Gone Girl, Ben.
Well, come on. He was already on the edge. The last fucking thing he needed to do was to go back to her.
Oh, I know, right?
Like, that's for like going from cocaine to heroin. Are you fucking insane?
Well, like, it could be one of those. Could be one of those devil you know kind of things, because like maybe he's been burned so many times.
She probably enables his ass, Scribbles. That's the fucking problem.
Probably. I mean, he wants somebody. He wants somebody to like pat him on the head and tell him he's doing a good job and not make him feel guilty for everything that he's done to himself.
Most likely, especially after the shit he's been through the last 5 years. I'm not saying it's a good thing or the right thing.
No,
that's probably what it was for him.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he heard she was leaving on tour, he's like, well, fuck that. Or whatever the hell happened between them. Who knows? So, like, yeah, her whole world fucking imploded, and now she's out there trying to fix her image again as usual. And no, you guys are right. She was like the Ellen of the music industry. Like, every time she gets popular again, that's when the stories start to resurface about how much of a fucking bitch she is. Although, Price, you said you met her once and she wasn't that bad.
I mean, listen, I talked to her for like maybe 30 seconds, and she stood right in front of me, and she looked very nice that day. So I don't know what she was saying, but she seemed all right to me, but again, that's a very short window of time.
The other thing to consider is that Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez recently worked on a Dunkin' Donuts commercial, and usually every time they work on something, that's when the relationship falls apart.
You're not wrong. Maybe Dunkin' Donuts fucking created there.
Because Affleck nailed the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Like, he was really good in that, and it was a troll job against JLo because he was jumping in onto her, I guess, music video recording or something. Like, that was the gag. And he stole the show. Everybody cared about him and not her. And maybe that led to a fight.
That'd be hilarious if it was that petty.
Well, and I think I told, was it last night we brought this up? I don't remember when I brought this up last, but it was on either the morning show or last night. Script will probably remember. But like, we talked about Jersey Girl. And in the original cut of Jersey Girl, she was in about 30, 40 minutes of the movie, right? Like, she was a more major part of the film, but they test screened it, and she tested so horribly that they cut her down to like, what was it, 8 or 10 minutes of the film? Like, she's in and out, like no time.
They meet, fall in love, get married, have a kid. She dies in childbirth, and then it's Pim talking with Liv Tyler for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. Like, because the original cut was like 2.5 hours long. And yeah, she was in like the first 30, 40 minutes of the film. Like, their whole courtship and stuff like that was a much bigger deal. And the pregnancy and stuff was a whole bigger deal. And like, yeah, because like the whole idea was you get set up to think it's going to be this, you know, romantic comedy and having a kid, ha ha ha. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, mom died. Now what? Like, in the middle of the movie. Like,
is JLo just like the most outstanding example of success and mediocrity?
Kind of.
She's had a career that spanned decades, and yet, except for like one or two things, I can't think of anything that really makes her stand out as like what justifies her stardom.
She was a good dancer, but then she opened her mouth, and people then got wild.
And Paulie, if he's in the chat, maybe he can give me the thumbs up on this or the thumbs down or add to it or whatever. But like, yeah, between what Script is saying is true, and the other side of it is every one of her successes has gone alongside some sort of controversy. She has never, like, she's almost like the original Kardashian, right? Like, ever since day fucking one, everything she has done from Selena on forward, because that's like the first thing she ever did that really kind of launched her into the spotlight, was Selena. And that too was just fraught with fucking controversy because they're like, oh, she's the wrong race. She's this, she's that. And it was so soon after the death. They're like, oh, they're cashing in on the death of Selena and all. Like, so that whole thing was controversial. Gigli was fucking controversial. All the shit she's ever done with everybody she's fucked's been controversial, from Ben Affleck to Mark Anthony. Like, I mean, the list, and fucking P. Diddy. Like, the list goes on and on and on with this woman. Like, she has never been what I would say liked. She is more of one of those that people just watch her because she's a fucking train wreck waiting to happen. Does that make sense? I'm sure some people disagree with me, and she may be likable in some things, but like she hits a fucking. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, she's fun to look at, but outside of when she was a fly girl, what fucking good is she? Like, she can't act for shit. Every movie I've seen her in, I fucking hate her.
She's atrocious to watch. If you actually think about it, she's kind of one of the OGs of failing upwards. Because she failed at all these things. She failed at all these things, and she kept getting the opportunities, and that was probably because of her appearance.
You know what? And I do remember The Cell being a kind of a very visually stunning and kind of interesting film, but because of her, it took the movie down like 10 notches. It's like, why isn't Jodie Foster or somebody I can actually take fucking seriously in this movie?
No,
like,
Vincent D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio made that movie worth watching.
Yeah.
JLo, like I said, The Cell is an amazing visual piece. All the set pieces and all of the set design and costumes.
I did not say this, Dave Trapera. I did not say this. That was not me. Not once.
Who said that?
I don't think anybody said that last night.
He's a breadstick.
Somebody said it, but it wasn't me. And I just
no,
was
I said you were
I
just a man with two first names, Mark Anthony.
That's what you said, yeah. I think one of the ladies said that.
I'm going to surprise you all and say that sometimes there's people that work hard, and I think that even if she's annoying, I think that like she worked on I don't think somebody could say she's not a hard worker. She did the music, she did the movies, she does the fashion. I mean, you may not like it, but and maybe it's not for me. It's not like I religiously go see everything she does, but I kind of appreciate her work ethic. I feel like she has done something. It's not just failing upward. She did put a lot of work into it, I think.
Oh, she brokered amazing deals. Like there's no, you can't, stick your nose up.
Let's be real though. She basically is Paula Abdul, but got to do movies. I'm not even joking. Like Stripes fucking gets the joke because it's true. Because like Paula Abdul started out as a fucking choreographer and dancer.
Yeah.
And then somebody put it in her fucking head that she should be a fucking pop star. Now she got some great fucking producers around her because her voice sucks donkey dick, but her songs are catchy as fuck. So she had like 2-3 albums there that sold like hotcakes. There was a time where she had like 3-4 songs on the fucking charts at once.
Yep.
Yeah, like, Rush with Keanu Reeves in Rush, and then MC Scat Cat.
Yeah, fuck yeah, MC Scat Cat, hell yeah, I got that fucking record because of him. Because he's a little obscure, like piece of I don't know what you call him now, but trivia or whatever. But no, I shit you not. Like even she didn't get to make fucking movies because they knew they were smart enough not to put her drug-addled ass on fucking front of a camera. Somebody thought and put it into fucking JLo's head that she should be a goddamn actress, though. I don't know who that was.
That may have been her plan from the get-go.
Probably was.
Choreography.
Pretty good at romantic comedies. It's not a genre that I like, but I think JLo and romantic comedies.
She did do a show that most people forgot. I can't remember the name of it. Fuck, what was it?
That wasn't in Living Color?
No, it was in between there. And I'm trying to remember what the fuck it was called. It was a sitcom.
Oh. I don't know.
And it only lasted like a few episodes or a season.
Was it on Fox?
It might have been. Somebody in the chat might remember. And for some reason, I even think Ellen might have been on it too.
Weird.
Fuck. I'm thinking of two separate shows. Either way, yeah, she was in a show for a while. Besides, before she was big, and I'd have to look it up. But somebody in the chat might get it ahead of time. But I don't really give a shit.
Dearest in the chat says Second Chances. Does that sound familiar?
That's it. Second Chances. Yes. And I think that might have been a spinoff of something, or there was another spinoff of that ended up getting famous, but then that show got canceled. It was a fucked up, it was at that time in television. And then also it was also at that time where if a show failed like mid-season, they would try and take most of the cast and the crew and shit like that and put them on a completely different show. And if that's the one I'm thinking of, it led to Ellen or something like that. But anyway, that being said, Shanatsky says, imagine Ghost in the Dark. Oh, we got this one already. Sergeant Point Blank says, Romulus is the Romulan homeworld. LOL. Boom, boom. I know, right? Joe Pat 80, I think, what was it? Clobby who made that joke? Somebody did. That we're going to see Romulans. If he didn't, he should have. Joe Pat. I was gonna say I thought it was you. Joe Pat 87 sends in $4.99. How you doing, Joe Pat? I ain't seen you in a tick. If not, just I haven't seen you pop up in the chat, and that's my fault. If we actually do lose movie theaters, the closest thing we'll have to cinema is prestige television. I can just feel it. Well, and not only that, that's kind of where my problem comes in with this. There's no real separation now between streaming and movies theaters anymore, because like the movies that are on streaming, like so many people are confused that Beverly Hills Cop 4 is not coming to theaters. Like I have never seen so many people who can't wrap their heads around the fact that it's not. And I don't blame them. It's like, how the fuck do you not put this movie in theaters, regardless if it's not that great?
Coming to America 2 went to Amazon Prime.
That one I could understand, because that was a horrible fucking movie, and the trailer showed that. Like, I even know what this movie's about, and I saw that trailer, and I'm like, you know what? This has a fucking chance. Why? Because Eddie Murphy is not phoning it in. At least from the looks of that trailer and from what I heard of the review. It's his daughter and a few other aspects of the movie that are the problems of the film. So we'll see when we get there. But
yeah, the new trailer looked really, really 90s throwback. I actually kind of got a little bit of vibe of the olden days for a second in a couple of those parts. Yeah.
I'm just curious about Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because he can do comedy. So are they going to let him compliment Eddie Murphy, or is there going to be? Are they going to make him like downplayed so that he can't, at risk rising above him?
I don't remember my reviewer saying that anything wrong with him. I think if anything, I think he said he did all right or something like that, if I remember right. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, no, he seems like a very good replacement for the other guys, because clearly you can't have the older guys tagging along with. That's part of the reason why they did it the way they did, probably. But his daughter trying to do Axel isms is the problem, I guess. So they should have found a way of her doing her own thing.
Or not have her at all.
Or not have her at all. Yeah, I agree with that. Especially if Teresa Randall don't show up, because then I'm like, what the fuck is the point? Because they talk about her, but I guess the reviewers like, I don't remember them showing them off. And then I forgot she also played Martin's wife in the Bad Boys movies too. Like, oh yeah. And I'm actually thinking about going to see Bad Boys 4. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I go see it out there in the chat? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll go. And
I should, just for continuity.
We'll do a little bit later. We'll do a little bit later show.
I'm going to see it.
Are you going to see it? Well, at least we know two of us are going to see it for sure.
Do you think it's going to hit 50 million like they're saying?
It might, but I'm not seeing it in the pre-sales yet, because that's another reason why I'm like, I haven't bought my ticket yet, because the show that I was looking at only sold like 3 or 4 seats.
It's such an old franchise at this point. When I saw a thing that said, estimated at 45 to 50 million its first week, and it's $100 million budget, I thought I'd be amazed if it cracked 35, but maybe I'm just.
Sony has had Will and Martin out there like crazy pushing this.
That's true. Yeah. They started out
I homework to see it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Bad Boys 3 and 2, probably.
Yeah.
That's from the looks of it. This looks like it's a direct sequel to Bad Boys 3 more than anything. Because the Bad Boys 3 does kind of set itself up for more movies. I wonder if internationally, though, and this movie might show us this, if internationally the slap had little to no effect on Will's image.
Well, they premiered the movie in Saudi Arabia.
Well, that's
the first premiere.
Yeah.
Oh, I know exactly. Yeah, it's slapping people around and stuff, and I was curious when I saw
the first right of a child right there to slap their sister or something, right?
Yeah. When I saw that story, I thought to myself, is that an indicator of just how little confidence they have in the domestic market that they premiere it not in Florida where the movie takes place or was filmed or anything else, but go all the way to Saudi Arabia? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much between the lines there. I don't know.
Where are the directors from, though?
The two directors.
I was just gonna say, Price.
Are they? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, maybe that's it.
Yeah, because
I can understand why premiere there. Yeah.
Who did Miss Marvel and Batwoman as well? They did Bad Boys 3.
And
Batgirl, not Batwoman.
Or did I say Batwoman? I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. So yeah, that could be why they premiered it there as well. But yeah, otherwise they've been pushing it everywhere. And look, I know he's not popular, but I kind of want to root for Will Smith. He used to be one of my favorite actors. And
Are you seeing it right away, Tom?
I'm thinking about it because I just watched Bad Boys again last night.
I will if you will. I will straight up if you will. I watched it recently too.
I was supposed to watch. I was going to watch Punisher Warzone again last night, and instead I ended up grabbing Bad Boys. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, man. Hey, it's okay. You have a.
So I'm like, if I'm going to go see this, I got to see 2 and 3 again. Because I've only seen 2 and 3 a few times, or I've only seen 3 once. And the first one I know by heart almost, because I saw that in the theater like 3-4 times, plus on video and whatnot, over and over and over and over again. But the second one was one that I just wasn't too keen on. But then the third one retroactively made it a little bit better. But I'm in the middle of the second one now, and it's just kind of a drag because it's 2.5 hours long. And it's so full of the Bayisms.
I don't remember. I remember not enjoying it, but I don't remember it being that long of a flick either.
It's just, it doesn't feel like a sequel so much to Bad Boys as it feels like a movie that takes place in the same universe as every Michael Bay movie of that era. Like the Transformers universe and shit. Like that's the problem with it. It was too much of a Michael Bay movie. But the third film brings it back home, back around to the feeling more like the first film, while tying things with the second film to make them relevant. And
I thought the third one was pretty good.
Yeah, I like the third one more than I did the second one. Yeah.
I thought the third one was good. I really enjoyed it. But
yeah, John Evan Barry, you're right. Like that's my biggest issue with Bad Boys 2 is it's just a little too overly long. And that opening sequence too is kind of just overly long, and it just doesn't feel like a Bad Boys movie. But I don't know. See, now Bootzilla says I like the second one. Third one felt like Beverly Hills Cop 3. I say the opposite. To me, the second one was just too full of Bayisms, and the third one felt more grounded. Yeah, Bayisms mean explosions and stuff. Mecha J.
Oh yeah.
Like in the second movie, there's like fucking 12 explosions, but before the fucking opening credits. So, shit, the first movie, I don't think we see explosion until at least the ether scene, I believe, when they have the ether in the back of the truck and they're throwing out the tanks. And he's like, "Sure, you'd pick a fucking van. It's a goddamn bomb." Anyway, Joe Pat says, if we actually do lose movie theaters, the closest thing we'll have, the prestige television thing. That's the thing. These Marvel shows, which are considered prestige television in a way because they cost so goddamn much, those suck. We haven't had a good show out of HBO other than House of Dragons, I guess, if you're into that. The closest to me would be like the Yellowstone universe stuff, and that's hit or miss depending on what it is, but mostly for me at least hit. Some people miss. And I script will come in and say like the writing is really it's amateurish soap opera, but it works for what it is for me. That's why Dallas and all those shows were so big back in the day.
Oh yeah, like it works. I mean, so Taylor Sheridan's recent thing, Operation Lioness, which is a very...
I heard that wasn't as good, yeah.
No, it was actually quite horrible. But it was also way more extremely soap opera. Then they've got Landman, has Billy Bob Thornton and someone else.
Is that out yet? I wanted to check that out.
I haven't seen it. It's supposed to come out this year, but I haven't seen anything of it yet. But I did review the pilot on my Patreon, and I thought the pilot was okay. But one of the things is that I think Taylor Sheridan's going to have a really hard time because he was a guy who did his own private mini rooms, who had people write his scripts for him, and then he would pay them, kick them out, and then he would rewrite and touch up the scripts and then throw it into production. That's why he's the sole writer on a lot of the shows he does. That tactic is not allowed anymore in the WGA and in Hollywood. So we're going to see a very sharp decline in the quality of his work if he tries to adopt a similar type of model, because he can't take advantage. He has to actually have credit the writers who work on his shows for him, because Tulsa King, he almost got away with that, but some other writers managed to score some credits and stay on with the show. I think because Sylvester Stallone is actually a really big proponent of screenwriters. He is one, and he loves making sure that they get their credits. So,
yeah, and I think he has some influence over that show too. But and you can kind of tell from that Sly.
Well, his daughter's in it as the
and JD, like he brought up, and this is probably my favorite of the Taylor Sheridan shows too, is Tulsa King. I can't fucking wait for season 2.
Yeah,
I loved that show. I tried watching the Mayor of Kingstown show. I got to get back to it. It was good, just kind of meandered. It felt like a bit, and I'm only in like the first or so season still. Maybe I made it to the second. I can't remember. I don't think I made it to the second yet. But
Yellow Flash. Yellow Flash says that he watched the Lakers show, that Showtime show.
I remember that one.
Winning Time.
I actually watched both seasons I watched, and I thought that the first season was excellent, and the second season already kind of felt like they dipped in quality there. It wasn't terrible, but like you said, maybe nobody was watching. But I think that the first season was really good.
No, it was Winning Time with Adrian. What's his name?
Brody.
Right? Yeah, Brody. It's
and
Brody,
with
right?
John C. Reilly.
Yeah, and it was crazy because people didn't start talking about it until the second season, because that's when I first heard about it, and then I started catching up. And I'm like, this is actually really good. And yeah, I agree with Price. The second season didn't feel like it had the strength of the first, but part of me is like looking at that, like, okay, they're kind of just establishing a new footing right now, and if they got a third season, they probably would have had a really strong, because it felt like it had that ebb and flow where you're getting on a decline, but then they're going to be hitting up another peak again. But then I think HBO canceled it because it was an HBO show, wasn't it?
Yeah, Zaslav was in the picture, and he pulled the plug on it.
Pulled the plug because it wasn't bringing enough new subscribers.
Right, and then oddly, I think that they added a scene to the last episode, like the final episode. They added like a 15-second scene that they're just sitting there and talking to sort of wrap up the show.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because it's a fictionalization of what is it, the 86th season, if I remember correctly, something like that, basketball.
Well, and that's the thing too with the problem with, first of all, the streaming situation, and now how cable's gotten soaked up into that, and how there's no real advertising for anything, and unless it's something kind of based on a franchise or a big somebody like Sylvester Stallone's involved, we generally don't talk about it or know about it until it's already gone, and it used to be. That's why I feel like they should try to get back to the fall schedule. Like, that's when I knew when to look out for new shows, right?
Well,
Like,
it's an oversaturation. You had last year 599 new television shows launched across TV, cable, and streaming. When are you going to have the time to actually see what all those are? And then it takes you so long to find out what the good ones are that they end up not having the ratings performance, and that's an oversaturation. Now, oddly enough, just this past week, I got a spec market sales list of how many original shows and original movies have been sold during the month of May, which is a slow month due to the Con Festival, which is always the case. But 3 of them were comedy TV pilots, original comedy TV pilots. They don't sound particularly good, but they're at least trying. And comedy is actually still a thing on the rise that's being sold, but it doesn't matter at this point because Hollywood, for the most part, doesn't like to invest in comedies because they only want that international market. And if they don't start going after the domestic dollars like they need to, it's going to hurt them in the long run. You have to create a foundation where you get people's butts in theaters, or at least watching the stuff that's made for their
network television kind of numbers.
Yeah, because it's asinine to not consider the fact that not everything needs to be on a world stage. Sometimes we can make something that's ours that draws other audiences from other cultures to come watch us, as opposed to the reverse that we've had over the last few years. And don't get me wrong, some of those other movies have been great, like RR and so forth. But it's like you still have to make a staple and reinforce what a Western or a North American movie is that isn't an IP dependent film.
Well, and a bigger problem here is the oversaturation in general, like you were just saying, right? Because like back in the day, you had the networks, which ran 4 to 2 shows a night on the network run, right? Depending on if they were hour
each network would have a 6-episode block of half hour
or 6 episodes. You're right, yeah, because they would run until the 10 o'clock.
And then hour episodes on
and then depending, and then you show a movie of the week, so whatever. So like just throw out an average of what, like the average network would have what, 30 original shows, programs on a week, roughly, give or take,
around that. Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, so you have some of the best writers out there working on those 30 shows, basically, right? And then your secondary market was your cable stuff, kind of came in later on, and that's where you had your second kind of like threshold of writers and stuff like that. Not as good as the guys on the network, but like,
it would be more expensive shows, so then you'd have a higher tier echelon writers to justify the case, right? So you'd have the more edgier,
right,
Sopranos, the Shields, all those.
You'd be able to pay for the big. Well, that's like HBO type cable. I'm talking like AMC, TBS, shit like that. Like that was lower level Family Channel type shit, Disney Channel type shit,
like ancillary cable, right?
yes. But then, because the Prestige series really became big with the Sopranos, is my memory, which you just brought up. Because before that, you had a few things. HBO tried a lot of different things. You had Tales from the Crypt, which is actually, you could probably argue the spawning of the Prestige series, because that's the first time I remember them spending a truckload of money on an HBO series like that. And that was because the Tales from the Crypt episodes were like mini movies in each episode.
Yeah.
You had a huge cast. They were spending, movie production value, but since they were only a half-hour shows, right? They were only half hour because they weren't an hour.
I think they were hour-longs.
Were they hours?
Yeah, I think they were.
I can't remember. I don't know if they were hour. I think they were only half hour. Somebody correct us if one way or the other. But either way, they were spending less of a budget because it wasn't a full-fledged film.
Right.
Right. But that's the first time, unless somebody please remind me, unless there was something before that, but that's kind of the first one. And then The Sopranos really kicked it off where everybody's like, we got to get one of those. And then there was Weeds and, the Orange is the New Black came on Netflix and stuff. But didn't that start on Showtime?
Orange is the New Black? No.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a Netflix original.
What was the one that Showtime had back in the day? Then was the lesbian? Was it the L Word?
The L Word, and If These Walls Could Talk were the two big lesbian.
Then you got Sex in the City and all those, and Entourage that came in, and of course Deadwood would be like, and the Rome one and the Spartacus series were kind of the pinnacles of spending a truckload of money until Game of Thrones.
Then you had Showtime with Dexter and all those, and that was their competition to HBO.
Breaking Bad and Mad Men.
And Weeds, which I said too. Yep.
I got to split, guys. I'm sorry.
We're gonna wrap this up after these super chats anyway. So go ahead. We got a few more super chats to go through here, but if you got to run, go ahead, Scribe, and plug your stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So
and I know Nick's got to get going too, so both you guys can go if you got to.
Yeah. Well, as always, thanks for having me on. Appreciate having the opportunity to kibitz with all the nerds and everything. On my channel on Thursdays, this is my prestige programming. Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, I do a show called TED Excellence, where I take a look at weird and wonderful TEDx talks with TEDx bingo and all that kind of fun stuff. I've had Tom on as a guest before and Script Doctor, so they both know how interesting, I hope, or intelligent, I can only pray, or entertaining, I hope they really are. So either way, thanks for having me on, guys, and hope you enjoy the rest of the evening, and I'll see you on the next one.
Take care, Scribe.
Hi, man.
Bye, guys. Take care.
Holy. So I got to head out too because Toxic Tuesday's in 20 minutes. Punisher Warzone, obviously. And in case some of you are not in the know, Razor Fist will be joining us in 20 minutes as well for it.
Nice.
Yeah. So the show's going to be huge. So if you haven't watched Toxic Tuesday yet, now's the chance to get started with tonight. So thanks for having me, Tom. It's always good to hang out with you and the boys. I will see
Tell him I said to check his DMs.
I'll let him know.
I'll try to pop in, but yeah.
I'll let him know.
Get him to come on the Friday night show sometime.
Oh, dude, I want to. We'll talk on that one. we got more to talk about, but yes, I will, Claudia. Trust me, I have to. All right, guys. Thanks for having me, chat. I'll see a lot of you in 20 minutes.
All right, buddy.
All right. Anybody else got to check out now before we go back to super chats?
Nope.
All right. Let me finish.
What'd you say?
I said I just wanted to check if anybody else had to go before we finish super chats. We got this one already. We got this one. We did this one. Okay. Day Tripera sends in 100 what is that? That's
Argentinian
souls, yep.
Pesos,
yeah. My last experience at the movies was awful. People talking nonstop, using their phones. It's not just bad movies or high prices. If you have a good 4K TV and sound system, forget about it. No, this is another issue, right?
Home theaters.
I mean, I have arguably in my case, most theater experiences couldn't even live up to what I have in my home. So yeah, you're 100% right, Day Tripera. So there's a problem too. And thank you for the very generous super chat. We got Taylor Swift is greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU, and Doctor Who, with a very generous $10. It says, when I was 10 to 25 years old, I went to the theater like 7 times a year. In the last 10 years, I'm going 25 times a year. Reason I'm bucking the trend is special events, old films, concert films, documentaries. Oh yeah, there's that too. I mean, my only reason for not going more is mainly just distance right now. And it kind of always has been my issue living in mostly rural areas growing up. But yeah, I mean, hey, if you can afford it and it's something you like to do, or like you have like with Price, where you have like the deal where you can see up to 3 movies a week, might as well. And then we got Day Tripera sending in another 100, whatever that is, pesos.
Argentinian.
Argentinian. That's right. There we go. The worst experience was watching Sound of Freedom, people talking and laughing out loud, and weren't Gen Z, but adults in their 50s. Never again. I'll watch it home. That's strange that they were being disrupted. That is very strange.
What was the laugh about in that movie? Nothing.
Well, not just that, just the age group, because to me, I feel like a lot of this disruption, in my experience, generally comes from people who are younger, who have zero attention span, who have zero respect for anybody else, who think they're the end all be all of everything, got their phones out through the whole fucking movie. I agree with that point that was just made. I just find it very odd that people in that age group, because they were raised to behave.
There's nothing. It's a great and disturbing film. There's nothing to laugh about in the film.
Yeah,
nuts.
Wow. I'm not saying you're lying, Day Tripo. I just find that very hard to believe because of
I believe it's just some
the age group. Yeah,
jerks.
Weird. Huh? Says they were all in their 50s. Weird. Were they a bunch of lefties or something? Because I don't get it.
Probably.
Yeah,
or a bunch of degenerates.
That's weird. Because even just the age group, even if they were lefties, I find it just strange.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Then we got Lester San Jose, the skeptic tank here, who's been a member for 11 months, who says, trick or treat, give me something good to eat, give us something worth paying for the theater experience. If not, might as well buy popcorn, then head out the door, as theater's making money from the drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. And even the popcorn is overpriced. I mean, you can buy yourself a little popcorn maker and
$20,
same result.
But it is a popcorn maker. Just a bag of popcorn in the microwave, you're done.
Well, there's a difference.
There is, but if you just want to
like for instance, for Christmas, I think I showed you guys, I got like this $40, $50, $60 little popcorn maker, and I just get these little, like, I think they're 4-ounce little popcorn bags and stuff. Tastes exactly like at the movie theater. I don't have like a shit ton because I'm just by myself or whatever usually, so it's not like I got an overabundance of popcorn all the time. It makes the perfect amount. And yeah, it's like you can get that for that much, and that's cheap. That costs you as much as like two bowls or boxes or whatever popcorn you want to call them at the theater.
I was looking into buying one of those, but they all seem to be made of plastic and like stuff that was melting and crap. And I was like, I don't want plastic on my popcorn.
No, it's actually, they're not too bad. My only problem with it is I wish it was a little bit bigger because of the way that you have to flip down the metal tray. If you don't pull out the plastic tray far enough, all your popcorn comes flying out on the floor.
I've got the
it's not wide enough, long enough. Yeah,
I've got the one with the glass sleeve where it shoots it out into the bowl.
Remember well, I mean,
in the 80s.
Yeah. The air poppers really or the other ones.
It's an older one. It's red. It's old. It's got a glass tube that goes up, and then it has a funnel that shoots out, kind of like a chemistry set. And you put the bowl right underneath it, and then it pops the popcorn in, and it goes up and drips the butter down, and then it shoots it out. It's like 40 years old. Still works.
Yeah. And then we got Jeremiah Hembry who says Venom last trailer thoughts. Well, we did bring it up a little bit, but I guess to go over again, it looks better than the last one, but I don't think any of us were really all that keen on Venom from what it sounded like to begin with, and the point where Klobby and a few others were like, yeah, it's just not even the character scribe and stuff like that.
Yeah. Never was a Venom guy. Not even when he was just a Spidey villain, and I have a big problem with it, making villain movies anyway. That's just me.
I mean, he looks cool, but he's kind of a lazy villain if you think about it.
Well, the thing is, every superhero movie is a villain movie because the villain's the one that's doing stuff, and the superhero has to stop it, and the villain should be kind of almost stealing the show.
Well, that's not what I meant, though.
I know, but like that's the thing. Is like Sony just gave us, well, let's just do it without the superhero. I'm like, well, what's the point?
Like a Joker or this case, yeah.
Right.
So. Yeah. The upcoming Craven movie.
That's all Sony can do, though. Craven is never coming out.
You don't think so? We'll have to see. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It was slated for last August, but it might. I'm just kidding. But
I just think they've made it too public at this point that they know if they They almost got it just to get
They
it out.
pre-sold it. They have to release it by,
Yeah,
or else they have to give all that money back.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, like that's what I mean. It's too public now. DM sent in $2 and says, "Wasn't Garfield already released?" Recycling. Well, I mean, it's not the same movie as the other movie, but I'm sure. I mean, it's just another take on Garfield, I guess. I mean, really, at the end of the day, I can't really shit on the movie. I haven't seen it yet. I wouldn't shit on it anyway because it's just an animated film. My biggest gripe with when I saw the trailers and stuff was why Chris Pratt is doing the voices beyond me. He should be playing John, if anything. Other than that, I can see why it's doing well. It's an animated movie. I'm not going to judge it like I would a live action film. When I do see it, I'll see it for what it is, and I'm sure I'll react to it the way most people have. It would be like, yeah, it was all right. Like, as long as it doesn't shit on the character too much, I don't think I'll have a bunch of a problem with it. I kind of enjoyed the Bill Murray one. I had some issues with it just because they changed some of the backstory of where Odie came from and stuff like that. But they didn't have Lyman or anything like that. And I didn't like the interaction between John and Liz.
I wonder if the story of Bill Murray, he said that he took the role by mistake.
Do you think that's true?
I don't know, because he thought it was one of the Coen brothers directing it, and then it ended up being just somebody with a similar name.
Joel X. Coen, who worked on Futurama and stuff like that, not Joel Coen of the Coen brothers. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Kind of funny. So
yeah, I don't believe that. I think he knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
I honestly think he did it more so probably out of paying homage to Lorenzo
Music. Yep. That was the most obvious thing. I think someone pitched it to him.
I would think.
Hey, you know Lorenzo Music did your voice, your character's voice in the cartoon. Well, we're doing a live action Garfield. We would be honored if you would do his voice since he has already passed away and whatnot. And I think that hit Bill Murray right where he needed.
And rumor was he wasn't too happy with Coulier's impression of him.
No, he was not. He was
because for those who don't know, like that was part of the problem with the original. Like if you go and see the original reel that was put out, the Bill Murray character, the Venkman character changed the most from the design because Bill Murray complained because they weren't supposed to have them look anything like them or they had to pay likeness rights. And Bill said, looks too much like me. You got to change it. And that was the same thing that I heard that he got pissed with when Coulier was brought in for the ABC versions to do the voice because there's another rumor that he supposedly wanted Lorenzo Music from the start. Secondly, the other reason is the likeness deal because Coulier literally just came in and did his impression of Bill Murray and Bill didn't like that.
Right. Because I think the first 3 seasons was Lorenzo Music and then he was left. Yeah.
Well, it was the ABC versions is where it came in. And then from there on out, they produced all of them, I think is what happened because they brought him in because that was when Full House got big too. So that was another reason why I think. But for some reason, they just... Whatever reason with Lorenzo Music, there's another rumor out there is that Garfield and Friends premiered around that same time that they took it over on ABC. And since Garfield and Friends was on CBS, it had something to do with conflicting contracts. I don't know if you believe that or not. That's another thing.
I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, I've got the cartoon show on DVD, and it's Lorenzo Music for the first 3 seasons for sure.
Yeah, it is. But that was when it was still syndicated. It didn't even go to Saturday mornings until like the 2nd season or whatever it was. And then
much later than that.
Yeah, or whatever it was.
Budget during syndication because they ended up being too expensive because the first season is almost like movie level quality. They have original music for every episode and whatnot. 2nd season they downgraded it, and then a 3rd season was still okay. So
it just happened that they overlapped because there was that many episodes produced or whatever, and then ABC took it over. That's all I remember, and it was like around 88 or 89 is when ABC took over. So yeah, it'd be like 2nd or 3rd season or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, because Lorenzo did it originally, and then when they switched it to where ABC was doing it, and then it became Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters the season after that, and then they actually did the whole hour block where it was half of the show was Slimer with that weird design, if you remember that or not. But like, yeah,
there's 7 seasons in total. So
it went on for a while. They changed the design right around the same time Ghostbusters 2 came out. That was like the 2nd time they changed everything or whatever.
Oh yeah, they changed Janine's design.
That was where the family people come in. They wanted to make her more of a motherly role figure than snarky, and they said she was too much of a sex pot or something like that. Yeah. And that's the only thing is, then I heard there was a conflict with Lorenzo Music, and they brought in, because they actually had Dave Coulier revoice some of the Lorenzo episodes. There's 2 versions out there of some episodes. See, and that's how I know that there's the deal with ABC, to where the ABC versions have Dave Coulier, the syndicated versions have Lorenzo Music.
How could you ever like make Lorenzo Music not be there? You know what I mean? Like, he has to.
And that's where I said I think it had something to do with a contractual thing. And because at the exact same time is when Garfield and Friends kicked off. So I don't know if it was a contractual thing with him being on CBS and not on ABC, and the syndication was a completely different contract. I don't know. Or if it was somebody at ABC didn't like Lorenzo Music and they decided they wanted Dave Coulier in there. Either way, I know it pissed off Bill Murray, and it pissed off most of the fans, because we hated the Saturday morning version of the show. It was horrible. Especially when it became Slimer in The Real Ghostbusters. I loved Slimer, but they made it so kiddie. Like, you go watch some of the latter episodes of that show, and it is fucking wretched. It got so bad. It's even worse than some of the older, when the Ninja Turtles got more kiddie oriented. Especially considering how good the earlier episodes were. But I haven't watched them all in a while. When I do watch them, I like scripts that I usually watch the first season or so, because that's when the best episodes are, when they had all the good writers and they actually spent some money on the animation and shit. But anyway, let's move on here. We got more super chats, and we have Price, who has to get going here pretty soon. Do you have to leave now, or do you got a few more minutes?
I mean, I got a few more minutes.
All right. CC Karaoke sent us in a super sticker, even though he's on the panel. Thank you for that, CC. Appreciate that.
It's a pooper.
It's a pooper sticker. Thank you. Yellow Flash 2 sends in $9.99. Thank you for that. So Superman has to pull it out last second, or it will rip through the woman. Oh man, the only reason that kid has a kid in the comics is because he was depowered. He was stuck with Lois on another world. Oh, okay.
No, yeah, no more precise muscle control for Superman. That's the one part where he just can't control himself.
That's what I kind of thought was funny about that Will Smith movie. Just the things
Hancock?
that they kind of, Hancock. Just the little things like that they added in, and then the second half of the movie goes completely off the rails. The first half is funny as shit.
The big twist in the movie is a weird one.
It is so weak. The last half of the movie, it's like, ugh. You started with such a promising premise, and you went completely downhill. But anyway, yeah, I didn't know this Yellow Flash, but that makes sense, I guess, for comic books. DM sends in a $2 super chat, says Born Legacy with Jeremy Renner was better than Matt. I disagree on this one. I mean, it was okay, but it felt more like it should be like a streaming spin-off show than a movie.
If they would have made another movie with both of them, that they run into each other and then work together, I think that would have been pretty cool. But since they never did that, then it's just whatever.
Yeah, because it makes no sense for us to even care about that story. In other words,
right? But if they would have made a movie where like they now like have to work together, I would have enjoyed that.
Action Con says, why did Roger Ebert support JLo to a fault? He liked that booty.
Yeah,
I guess.
Sometimes
she
Roger
looks
Ebert.
good. I don't know. Everybody like is surprised that she did well. Looking good is actually
I'm not.
That's an advantage.
Mm-hmm. No, I know there was a moment in time where she was the it girl. DM says so. Will Smith gets a slap of free cash. Unreal. Well, we'll have to see. We'll see how it plays out this weekend. Yeah, Sadie's got to go out. Connor Dorian sends in $20. Says Warner Brothers is only releasing upcoming Stephen King movie adaptation Salem's Lot in theaters in Ireland and the United Kingdom, but it's releasing it on streaming service Max in the United States. Yeah, I heard, and I think King was bitching about this or something like that. But I heard this movie is fucking horrible. I have not seen it, but I have heard from 2 or 3 people that have seen it, and they said it was fucking horrible. That was exactly what all 3 of them said.
Langoliers horrible?
Probably. I can only imagine what is wrong with it. They didn't say much else about it. They just said that yeah, they know why it's going to streaming because it's horrible. Because this movie's been done for a while. If my script, you know anything? Yeah, I was gonna say you'd probably know if anybody. Yeah. Was this even done? Okay, so this was one of the ones I think that got set off by It, right? If I remember right, because like that was when they reset all these Stephen King reboots in motion. So it's been at least since It or It 2 time period, like that this has been talked about and been in production or pre-production at least.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
They probably updated it. That's the other problem. Do we really want an updated version of this story? I mean, from my memory of TV movies, it was better to have the right to be because like Tobe Hooper, I think, directed it. Wasn't that who it was? Or was it George Romero? I'm trying to remember now. One of those two. But
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a TV movie though, and it was still pretty good. Isn't that weird how Stephen King's TV adaptations 9 times out of 10 are better than when they try to do a big budget movie version of it? I'll still say the TV version's better than the newer one. That's for sure. Well, we'll see. So yeah, with that, nobody has any answers in the chat. Okay, yeah, Tobe Hooper. That's what I thought. Yeah, I knew it was one of them. Yeah, ABC did a lot of good King adaptations. I don't feel like they're nearly up to snuff anymore. Not that King is up to snuff anymore. Not that he deserves it.
Well, he's always had to be rewritten. I mean, even from the early days. So,
well, you don't know how to end a story. That's the problem. The only time you probably ended a story any good would be somewhere between Misery and Stand By Me.
Firestarter.
How's the ending of that one go? I can't remember.
She blows stuff up.
That's it, right?
On Fire with George C. Scott.
Because I'm trying to remember, like, because Carrie, they changed the ending in the movie. The ending of The Shining is different in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like almost every one of his endings has to be changed. The Mist, I know, is one of the more controversial ones.
Everybody likes the Mist ending that I've spoken with.
I still haven't watched that movie because of that ending. Now, this is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations, and I even think the 2-hour version is good. And I didn't even know there was a 3-hour cut until the Blu-ray just come out, but I haven't watched it yet. So I'm interested to see what they got into that, because that was one of my favorite books of his, and I thought they did a really good job of cutting out the fat in the movie adaptation. And Max von Sydow was fucking brilliant in it. But I don't know if most people like that one or not. But I just remember liking it a lot. It was just one of my personal favorites. But that was like prime King time. Like prime time King. When that came out. Because that was even produced by Castle Rock, which would have been Meathead's company.
Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
I like the Cat's Eye.
Cat's Eye is a fun one.
Yeah.
Now, which set of stories is that based on, though? Because the book's not called Cat's Eye, right?
I don't think so.
Shit. Because they used a couple of stories from the same book, and then they just used the cat to kind of string them together.
Yeah.
And then I know. And I love the final story, which I think is the only original one for the movie, which is the Drew Barrymore story. Even though she plays a different
the fight
role.
with the cat and the troll thing.
Yeah, the little troll guy. Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, the way they did the miniature, or the bigature effects, or whatever you want to call it, it was really cool. It works. It looks good. But yeah. Anyway, let's get out of here, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Script, what do you got to plug?
Nothing. I'm good. I'll see
Check
you
out
guys
his Patreon and his channel. What do you got coming up this Saturday? Anything you can tease for your scripts on Saturday?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. This Saturday we've got ideally another comedy called Head Games. It's about a spy posing as a chef. It's got a convoluted log line, but might have something interesting going on with that one. So be on the lookout for that this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
All right, Price.
Tonight at 11:45 p.m. Right after the Acolyte, on the Night Owl, which we do every Tuesday and Thursday with my friend Red Roberts. We're going to be talking about the show because I'm going to try to watch it in time. And hopefully people will join us. It's not on my regular channel. It's on Price of Reason Live.
It's already dropped, so.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
think
going to do.
it dropped here in a little bit. Yeah, a little
the
bit
second
ago.
I go, like we end our stream, I'm going to go watch it, and then I'll be
good
ready
luck.
for the other stream for the 11:45 one.
Good luck.
Thanks.
CC.
We're back to karaoke on Friday nights, so tune in if you want to hear us butcher songs and have a good time.
All right, sounds good. Clubby.
Wildcard Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Central tomorrow night, of course. And I don't know if Loki's going to have the round table at 7, but if he does, I'll be there with him. And in the clubhouse with my wonderful first officer Raquel and the great Mark D with the C. And Thursday night, that's Thursday night, and then Saturday night Star Trek, 9 p.m. Central.
Right.
Hopefully, Raquel will be back for that one.
Sounds good. And thank you for bopping into Mead Radio earlier. I saw you in the chat.
Yes, sir. Indeed, always enjoy that.
And CC's and Price as well. And I don't know if CC was on. Yeah. And then me, who knows? I might try to bop into Toxic Tuesday if I get a chance here. Otherwise, I'm sure you'll see me on the morning show. And yes, Sadie, I know. Yes, it's time to go. Yes, it is. She's like, yeah, I know. It's time to go. Yeah.
You're in trouble.
You gonna talk back to me like that? Oh, you think so? Who runs this house? Oh, you think so? I'm pretty sure it's the cat. I think we're both wrong. It's the cat. Yeah, I think it's Kitty. I don't care if you agree with that or not.
Wow.